Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. This week's guest, none other than Mr. Carp Angle himself, Joe Morgan. But before we bring out Joe, we've got some Nash news. Joining me today, Mikey Wilson.
I've made it.
Innovations Manager, Mikey Wilson. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. I'm just happy to be here, mate. I've finally been invited into the podcast studio.
Oh, you did the Christmas special, though. You have been on a podcast before,
I have been on
haven't
a
you?
podcast, yeah, but that was in Kev's conservatory, wasn't it? But this is my first time actually sitting in the podcast studio.
How does it feel, mate?
Bit disappointed.
A massive letdown.
No, I'm joking. Yeah, it's good, mate. It's cold.
Yeah, it's cold
It's
this morning,
freezing
yeah.
in here. But yeah, no, it's good to be here, mate. I was
mate.
excited to come and do the news with you.
Well, you will do your own feature-length pod with me soon, mate. You're on the list, so I will tick it off. I look forward to that. But you've got some stuff coming out on video before that, hopefully.
Yes. So I think we'll wait until, and then we give it a little plug.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What you been up to? Much fishing or just busy developing products, mate?
Yeah, and to be fair, mate, since I sort of went into my third year of my campaign last year and caught my target fish within 2 weeks of rejoining the lake, and since then I just lost the buzz a little bit. I have been doing bits and bobs, but just mainly focusing on work, on my job. So I decided to sort of pull away from social media, pull away from filming, and focus solely on my role at Nash, just to give it my all, basically. So fishing wise, I've not done a lot, mate, at all. Not done a lot.
You need to get back out there. Get
I've done a couple of nights this year. I think I've done 4 nights this year, something like that. But I've got a new ticket that started last Friday, just a local club ticket, and they love floaters. And my target this year, I just really, really, really want to catch a 40-pounder off the surface. So that is all I'm going to be sort of trying to.
But the buzz is back, yeah?
The buzz is back, mate. The buzz is well and truly back. Sort of, it was winter, it was cold. Nowhere was really fishing. And I just thought I'd focus more on work.
Yeah, fair play.
As I caught my target so close, so early on, it was weird. I thought I'd catch it at the end of the year, and then that would be me done. Jump on somewhere else. But because I caught it so early, I'm getting married this year. I couldn't really afford to then shell out for another syndicate ticket. So I did a little bit on there still. Probably a bit naughty. Would have got red carded if I'd have caught it again, but. There were still 2 other 40-pound commons to have a go at, but they don't come out a lot. So there was still something to go for, but the buzz was gone because I'd caught the one I'd joined for.
Yeah, but it's back now, which is the most important.
It's back now.
And talking about targets and fish, what I'm going to talk to you about in this National News segment, recently, scrolling through social media, as you do, there's been a load of big fish captures. We've had a good bout of weather that come in, some high winds, rain, low pressure, exactly what you want. Springtime, there's been unbelievable fish. The box common, Tom Maker, as always, what a guy, what a machine, with his girl, lovely picture, big fish.
Awesome.
You've had Spike yesterday from
That was the one I
Swan.
posted in the group. Yeah,
Oh,
I couldn't believe that. I didn't even know that fish existed.
What
I did not.
fish,
Scrolling
man.
through Instagram, and there's not. You do get occasionally. You get that one fish that just stops you when you're scrolling. And you just think, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Like that is, and yeah, was it £52 from? Is it from Swan?
From Black Swan,
Black
isn't
Swan,
it?
yeah.
But Chris Bleasley, forgive me if I pronounce your surname wrong, Chris, but incredible capture, mate. What a
Mate,
fish.
it's probably one of the best carp I've ever seen. Just everything about it. Big overslung mouth. It's £52, tiny little tail, and it's a linear. And the colours on it were ridiculous. The photo was ridiculous. It's one of the best fish shots and fish I've seen in a very long time.
But as a scheme, there's been loads of big fish captures up and down the country very recently with that hit of weather. What I wanted to talk about is specific big fish. For you, you've just been through a campaign, which we're not going to talk too much about because there's a video coming. But in terms of targeting specific big fish, what are your thoughts on doing that, mate? Or how would you go about that? Because you have done it.
First of all, I think it depends on the stock of the lake. Like if you're targeting one big fish in a lake of 1,000 carp, your chances are obviously going to be a hell of a lot less if you're targeting a big fish in a lake with 20, 30 carp.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of take that on board in the first instance, I think. And it's sort of where I've just been on my campaign. There's a lot of fish in Golden Gates, you know. I think there's over 200 carp, and to target one fish out of 200 carp is quite difficult because you've got to sort of wade through, and that was my plan in the end, just wade through the numbers, law of averages. It's going to happen eventually, surely.
Yeah.
But sort of trying to target maybe the areas that it's came at in the past, certain times of year, maybe certain rigs, certain bait. Just trying to put everything, all the odds in your favour.
Yeah.
To get on, to even be in a position where you know an area. Okay, so the last 4 years, you do your research. It's been caught in that area of the lake maybe 3 times that's in the spring over the last 4 years. So you know, sort of 3 out of 4 times, 75% chance it's probably going to get caught in that area again this spring. So just sort of going on previous captures is a massive part for me. Finding out the history, doing your research, and I can say that sort of maybe was what caught me dozer last year. I won't give too much away, but it wasn't. It wasn't. No. But like I say, the lake I'm going on to now, there's I think 4 40-pound commons in that as well. There's probably 1,000 carp in there. So the chances, but the thing is, the lake I'm going on to said I want to catch 40-pound off the surface. I've seen this fish feed before on the surface,
right? And
it's the Wicks common. It's not a stranger fish to anyone. Adam Penning caught it last year. I think El Gray's caught it before. Loads of people have caught it now, but I've seen it take floaters when I had a ticket a few years ago. So you can sort of target in that respect. Sometimes if the water's clear, you can see the fish in the margins. And I've had it loads of times where you'll have one of your target fish feeding on the surface, and you have to pull the floater away from other fish because it's going to hook one of the other fish you might have caught before, or a smaller one you don't want to catch, and it's just going to ruin it to catch your target fish. So there's loads of different ways, but yeah, I think going on previous captures in the first instance is a big edge. Yeah, definitely. If you're targeting somewhere like a syndicate, like you said there, you've got the opportunity there. Probably, I mean, the banks are busy, full stop, but you've got the chance there to probably get in those areas quite regularly, maybe look at the right times, even though it may be a bit of a race to get there if it's got form that's been publicly known to everyone. If you're contemplating somewhere, for example, like St John's, Linear, it's busy, you're not going to get in the same swim or a swim, and you're looking for a big one. What do you think you could do to single out a big fish in that instance? Is there anything rig or bait wise for you that screams big fish? Just get a genie, mate. Just get a genie, mate. I don't know, mate. How do you target the big plated from St John's? Again, go on previous captures, like you say. Can you get something going on St John's? Probably not, because as soon as you're out of swim, there's probably 2 buckets behind you for someone waiting to go in there, and then someone waiting to go behind them. I don't know, I've never really fished busy day tickets, so I can't. Yeah. It's hard for me to comment, mate, but again, going on previous captures certain times a year. So for you, that intel's massively important. Massively, mate. What about the actual approach to catching? Because, I mean, it's a very big generalisation, but if you're fishing high pop-ups, big hinges, for me, that big screams like big fish. You're not going to catch 10 8-pounders. Well, you will eventually, but you're not going to catch as many, maybe, if you're fishing big. Would you say that would be if you're on that type of venue and it's heavy populated, would you say that that's a goer? Yeah, definitely. But from a personal point of view, I'm a very, very stubborn person, and I like catching. I want to catch a carp on my terms. Yeah. So if I'm fishing a certain method, and 9 times out of 10, mate, I use the same rig, I use the same bait, and I fish exactly the same way. It's just how I've fished for sort of the last 5-6 years now. I've fished the same method, and wherever I've taken it, it's worked. So I know in my head, every fish I've ever targeted, eventually I do catch it on that method. Okay, I might have caught it quicker in some instances using a different method, but I always adapt with my fishing. If I have to fish zigs, I fish zigs. If I fish on the bottom, I fish on the bottom. If you've got to fish choddies, you fish choddies. But as I say, I'm very stubborn, and I like catching them how I want to catch them. And it means a lot more as well if you're sort of got your own way that you target a carp, target carp in general, and the one you're really after, you then catch on that method. In my opinion, it makes it makes the buzz much greater. Yeah. Much, much greater. And it's also, I think, like, it's nice in a way to catch those fish leading up to that capture. If you go there and you catch a big one early, yes, it's significant, but it isn't as significant as if you've waded through some of the stock, is it? No, definitely. I think, playing. I love getting bites as well, Hassan.
Yeah.
Like, I love targeting big fish, but I go fishing to get a bite. I don't really like, you've got people like Yeomans who'll fish a lake with 10 carp in it for 4 years and maybe get one bite. Like, that's not a bit of me, guys. Like, not a bit of me. I'd rather go fish a lake with a 45-pound common in it and maybe on an overnighter have 2 20-pounders and maybe and just wade through the stock, because that's also what I love. I love the journey, wading through those fish to then lead up to the target. It puts the pieces together. You're building the picture to get to that final result. Like,
yeah, nice, mate. So essentially, do your homework, find out areas, what's happened before, make sure it's trustworthy intel, depending on where you're getting that intel from. Yeah,
definitely.
And then build a picture around that. And on busy waters, mate, play the numbers game.
100%. I think that's all you can do. So I say, it's hard because I've never really fished or targeted a fish in a busy water like linear, for example. I just think it's so hard, mate.
Yeah,
how it's so hard. You can't choose what fish picks up your bait, mate. I don't care what anyone, unless you're seeing it in the margin or you're fishing from on the surface.
Yeah.
Unless you can actually see what's going on.
Yeah. You
don't know what fish is feeding there, picking up your bait. Like, you just don't know. Like, and the chances of you catching that big plated out of St John's, I don't know how many fish is in there, 1,000 fish, let's say, for example. You got 1 in 1,000 chance, but then to say, going on intel where it's come out before, if you can get into them areas, trying to sort of put everything in your favour to catch it. Yeah. That's what I would do anyway.
Too right. Roll the dice. The carp fishing lottery, mate.
Yeah.
Hope those carp gods are on your side. Mikey, you're a ledge, mate. I'll let you go back to product innovation.
No worries, mate.
While I dig out Mr. Morgan. But thank you very much. And I look forward to your podcast and hearing about the old
I'm buzzing,
new
mate.
buzz, mate.
Yeah, I can't wait to come. Hopefully, by the time I come back for my podcast, well, I say I'm doing my first night on, I say new water. I have fished it before, but I'm going this Friday. So I don't know when I'll be back. So I might have even achieved my target by the time we come. Fingers crossed.
Most important thing, mate, you're out there doing it and the buzz is back.
The buzz is back.
Big love, mate.
Sal, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Take care.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Joe Morgan, how are you, mate?
I'm good, but where's the makeup team?
Yeah, they've done my hair, mate, and this fake tan, and they've gone, mate. And don't adjust your screens. We've swapped seats here, mainly because this lighting's better for me. No, I'm joking. You're back, mate. You're in a more comfortable chair.
Yeah, well, the other thing was, like, obviously I'm quite tall and I didn't want you to look really short, so I thought I'd give you the taller chair.
Finally, somebody in the studio understands my struggles. Thank you, mate. That's very charitable of you. I massively appreciate it. It's actually quite comfy on this couch. If I drift off, just give me a nudge, Joe.
Feel free to lay back, mate, you know.
So much to talk about, mate. Carp Angle, Carp Tv, the works. But we're going to start... Well, we're going to talk for a select few chapters, but our starting point is going to be you and the discovery of fishing, mate, because it's a little bit novel and niche. So, talk us through how you got into the world of carp fishing, mate.
Well, I guess before we go into the world of carp fishing, we should probably just go into the world of fishing in general.
Yes.
And I think from a very, very young age, I had some sort of passion for water. As a toddler, I think I was only about 2.5 years old. Got up one morning, climbed out the dog flap, got on my little plastic tractor, rode down to the bottom of the garden where there was a river. And my dad I think he'd heard the dog flap go or something. What's Joe up to, looked out the bedroom window, saw me getting on the tractor and riding down to the fence. And then I've put the tractor against the fence and climbed on the tractor, just could climb over this fence into the reeds behind. And obviously Dad shot down the garden and grabbed me just as I was toppling over the fence, into the reeds. So obviously I was going to look for carp.
Obviously. Yeah. Good hands, Dad. Thank you.
I think moving on from there, I think we moved to Colchester when I was about 3. And I'd always seen people by the riverbank where we lived. Even at such a young age, I was inquisitive. Like, what are they doing? Like, can we do this? And so when I was about 3.5, 4 years old, my dad took me fishing. I think they took my brother the first week, him and his mate, and they went to Snake Pit. And I can actually remember having, even though I was such, I can't remember much from those sort of years, but I can remember having a massive tantrum, like kicking the walls, because they hadn't taken me. And it was my turn the next week. So they took me in next week, and yeah, we caught a load of like real nice. Well, they're probably like at that age, but yeah, nice roach and perch on the float. And again, I can remember it so clearly. I can remember getting maggots and like being obsessed with them, and then like the catapult. Come on, let's have a go on the catapult. And, like firing maggots out the catapult, but just covering all of us and all the tackle and everything in them, So yeah, moving on from there, when we were sort of 5, 6, we bought the little cheap Argosy kits,
Oh, classics, mate.
Yeah, just go to little ponds that we didn't even know if there was anything in, and try and catch some stuff. And then that kind of progressed on to getting into it a bit more. And I remember like fishing there was a little duck pond just up the road from us, and baiting it up ready for the June the 16th. So, we'd read in the magazines about pre-baiting, and I remember I was actually using bread. I'd read this thing, it was like flattening bread, so you put bread in between, like 2 bits of paper or something like that, but then put bricks or wood and then bricks on top. So basically just to flatten it off, and then you'd slice it into little cubes or little flat discs, little flat squares. And I was using that and a still water blue, and I caught my first little carp. It was only about that big. I think it was actually a hybrid or something, but yeah, it was a proper buzz.
Yeah, I bet.
And then that kind of led on. There was a syndicate in the village called the Garrison, and we used to go over there. In fact, I can remember our dad taking us over there when we were really young in the dark at night, going around with a torch looking at the bugs and I remember seeing this pike had I think it had like another pike in its mouth, and it was like swimming around trying to eat it. And yeah, we used to go pond dipping down there, and I was about 7, 8. I used to go down there and kind of like hassle the anglers a bit, just punishing them for a bit of information.
Yeah.
Well, probably not even information, but just, I was intrigued to what they were doing and all this carp fishing. Oh, this is cool, isn't it? They've got all this gear and got this social side of it. And I can remember probably about that age, I used to have like notes of whose cars were what, because obviously some people weren't so welcoming. Like, piss off, you little shits, but some of them were. So I remember I had a sheet of paper and it was like yellow Escort or something like that, guy with glasses, moody bugger, And years later, I can't remember, it was either Zen or Nash, Kevin, one of the two. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. Obviously, they'd be able to confirm it by the yellow
their car,
the banana car.
I love that database, mate. That's very forward.
I wish
thinking.
I still had it. Yeah. So yeah, I ended up spending more and more time over there. I'd go down the shops, get their bits and bobs for them, and they'd just let me hang around, maybe do a bit of float fishing and whatever. Then they started to give me their old kit, as I was like showing more of an interest for the actual carp. So I was getting all the hand-me-downs, and they were good anglers at that point on that lake. There was some real good fish in there for the time.
What we talking?
Cracking lake as well. They went up to nearly 40 £40.
Wow.
This is like late 80s, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Really good fish then.
Yeah. And quite a few 20s as well. I think there was only ever like a couple of 30s, but it was really rich, full of Canadian, and really quite hard, But then it kind of deteriorated over the years gradually. I think it was a combination of, it was a real deep pit in dug out in sand, a sand pit if you like, but it was right down in the ground. And I think obviously as the trees grew up higher and higher, they're blocking more light, less wind getting to the surface, and the biomass went through the roof. And anyway, another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys started giving me their kit and then taking me fishing. I became like the carp cadet.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was. Damien Clark obviously was one of them. There was other guys, Neil Sprit, Sean the rod builder, and they'd go out of their way to come and pick me up. We used to have like a social over Layer every Wednesday in the evenings after work. One of them would come and pick me up, which is probably 20 minutes out of their way, and then one of them would drop me off home afterwards. And
no way.
I've got a lot to be grateful for. These days, imagine like if you had a child that was like 12, 13 and they were like, oh yeah, I'm going off fishing with these guys from the lake, and your parents don't know these people. And
yeah, it's not happening, is it?
No. But yeah, I was really, really fortunate that these people took me under their wing. And
not only that, the people that you are effectively learning from are pretty handy at their trade of carp fishing, aren't they?
That's
mate?
it, yeah. Masters of the craft, if you like, yeah.
What a start. Was your bro involved at the same time?
No, he wasn't really as into the fishing as I was.
No.
He used to do a bit of sea fishing and bit of pike fishing and whatever.
But not as heavy into it as you. What do you think it was? You said water, but what about the fishing sort of? Was it the fact that you were surrounded in that environment? Was it outdoorsy? Was it the connection with nature?
I guess it was a bit of all of that, really, mate. Yeah. I just, I guess, must have tapped into the buzz that fishing offers from quite a young age and warmed to it. And yes, I mean, I was trying to think back now. Like that Garrison Lake, I ended up, someone else took it over. A bloke that I was really good friends with. I ended up like babysitting for his kids. And I worked at his hairdressers.
His hairdressers?
Yeah. I used to be like 13 years old or whatever. I was like the T-boy, 12, 13.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up kind of spending a lot of time around that lake and
into the ether, mate. This is a while ago, isn't it? 13. You're quite young here, mate, aren't you?
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah.
What was education and school like for you at this time? Did you have much of an affinity to sort of school education stuff? Because you're pretty switched on as a bloke. Generally, was it something you took to, or did you just like being outdoors? And
yeah, there was. I don't know why, but I always kind of rebelled against authority, and I was a bit of a class clown. I took more pleasure in making the class laugh, than I did in actually getting on with my work. And I remember there was one teacher, Mr. Willis, who always used to say to me, "Joe, think before you speak. Think before you open your mouth." And I said, is that possible? I still haven't sussed that one out yet.
Yeah, I'm not there,
what
mate.
comes out.
Yeah, I'm there, mate. I'm with you.
But with regards to particular subjects, I really enjoyed drama for whatever reason. So I put quite a lot of effort into that. Quite liked art. So I put a bit of effort into that. My English seemed to be like naturally of a fairly good standard, not super high, but I got on all right with English. Maths wasn't brilliant. PE I used to hate. I used to do everything I could to avoid
You used to hate
doing PE. Yeah, I don't know why. I think I was just skinny, unfit, and like a bit of a lefty. Like the old. When you picked the football team, I was always the last. I was a terrible football player, but I was keen as well. I was keen for it. Like I got into the cricket team at one point. I was like, yeah, this is a bit of me. I can do this cricket. And I played one actual match against another team, and I was the last person to step up to bat. We put Joe on last, and I remember the guy who was still on. He was like, "Don't mess this up, Joe. My mum's only just got here." And I had the first bowl done me.
No,
and that was the end of the game. Finished.
Oh,
I remember one of my teammates was like laughing and joking, like taking the mickey out of me. I beat him up.
Beat him up. That's needless, though, isn't it? No one likes getting out, let alone having somebody heckle you at the same time.
Oh yeah, it was a painful experience though. So
it scarred you. You brought it up.
Although
on the
more
podcast.
for him in the end. No, it wasn't that bad. I think I just gave him a little slap.
And then from there, you talked a little bit about sort of your fishing in terms of carp fishing and learning from those lads. Where did you stay around Essex? Because I'm guessing before you got your car, you're sort of Essex centred, aren't you?
Yeah. Colchester, Essex. Yeah. Mostly local. Obviously, once I started, because when I got my car, I was 20 years old by that point.
Oh, so you learnt to drive relatively late then, yeah? 20.
Yeah, because from I was 17, I went to work at Dream Lakes.
Dream Lakes, the Dream Lakes fishery in France.
Yeah.
How did you land that job?
So I was working. We kind of skip back and forward and back. We're going to go a little bit over the show, aren't we?
I like this. No, that's what I'm all about. No order.
So from school, we might as well just cover this quickly. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I went to college to do a design and reprographics course, like printing, just purely because I had a few fishing mates who'd done that and they got good shifts for fishing. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's good. I can go work a week and then have a week off fishing, So after 6 months, I didn't really get on with a tutor and I was a bit lazy. And I'd had a Saturday job at Snags, which had only just opened at that point, and Damien was the manager.
Yeah, the tackle shop, yeah.
Yeah. I was working there kind of on a part-time basis, Saturdays and any other little bits and pieces around college. And then didn't get on with the college course. I left that, went to start working at the shop full-time. And I was probably only there a few months. And the guys from Dream Lakes used to come in, Zenon and Norris, come in. Like, the shop was like a social scene, It's like all the time. There was 4 or 5 carp anglers in there drinking tea and talking carp or crap, one of the two, or both of the two. And then, so I thought, I can't fancy a bit of that, working out there. I could do that, yeah. So I just said to them, like, if anything comes up, give us a shout. And within a month, they were like, oh, you've got a job if you want it. So, yeah, 17, went out to work there.
That's a big move, isn't it?
Yeah, looking back now, for someone that age, yeah, it is. But what a great life experience. You know, there's 40 to 50 different people coming out every week from all over the country, all kinds of characters. They're all on holiday, so they're all got that holiday buzz about them, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone's going fishing, they're all excited, and until the end of the week, and they're blanked. And blanking really brings out the worst in people, doesn't it, you know?
Yeah, I think
especially
so.
You know, when they've looked forward to that holiday for so long, they've been saving, they've spent all that money on bait and tackle and everything else, and it can be soul destroying, can't it?
There's always that sort of, I don't know, that sort of expectation that you go to France, you're going to catch a 50, job done. If you're 2 days in and you've caught nothing, you often see people start to lose their heads.
Yeah.
And if you get to the end of the week, as I guess you're going to tell us, mate, there's going to be some
shockers. But that was, you know, I mean, there wasn't often many. You'd always get a couple. It's just the way it is. Like you say, them lakes are stuffed full of fish. They've got pressure all year round, and they're going to wise up. And some weeks will be quiet. But no, from a positive point of view, it was so good being able to help people and then come in the next day after catching a massive fish and totally buzzed up. You know, you'd feel nearly an amount of excitement they would from it, you know?
Yeah.
And like I say, there was lots of socialising and messy nights.
Talk to me about some of your experiences on there, mate. I'm guessing you sort of obviously said you helped anglers, but your sort of day-to-day responsibility was just to basically be a bailiff, go make sure that the upkeep of the place as well as the anglers is...
Yeah, to be honest with you, there was always something to do. Sorry, I've got hair in my eye. The cleaning never stops. There was always cleaning to do somewhere. It wasn't cleaning, there was, you know... So, yeah, the general duties were like picking up the rubbish, so we'd have to go around in the tipper truck, pick up the, you know, like for a Saturday, for example, you know, you've got the new people come in, 2 people go and do the shopping, 2 of us will go and pick up the rubbish, meet the new anglers, give them a little bit of advice, and basically just have a duty. I mean, the worst one was picking up dead fish. You know, with them sort of places, you are always going to get some, especially after the winter, and then once they've died in the winter and then popped up in the spring. But yeah, I can remember one day, it was a particularly bad period, and I had like 50 carp on a tipper truck, up to 50 pound, in all different states of decomposition, you know, like, and you'd have to like basically scrape up their guts off the floor with a spade, you know, he's kind of gaffing them out of the lake, getting them up behind here and up behind here, like you know what I mean, up behind the shoulders, and drag them out, lift them up, chuck them on this tipper truck, and then go and bury them elsewhere. And 100 degrees, you imagine that smell.
It's going to stink, mate.
Horrendous, really, really bad. But yeah, cooking.
What did you? 17. I couldn't cook for people I couldn't cook for myself at 17, mate. Beans on toast would be what they'd get.
It was just the breakfasts that I had the responsibility of. But even that, like doing 50 eggs in 10 minutes or whatever it was, do you know what I mean, in a short period of time that you're serving people, and you want everyone to be perfect. You know, you're filling up, you're putting 6 eggs in that pan, and then 6 eggs in that pan, and give them a little sauce, they're ready to go. 6 in that, you know what I mean? It's just constant rotation. You broke one, it's like, no! So yeah, I only had the simple kind of cooking duties, but...
Still some responsibility there. How were things in general over that time for you? Did you enjoy it? Did you sort of have more affinity to different aspects of it, or was it all just sort of all good generally as a positive experience?
Yeah, I loved it, mate.
Did you?
Yeah. Like I say, you know, that whole kind of social element, being able to fish. Although it got to the point where it was like it's getting a bit blasé with the fishing. And you're like, hang on, I don't want to spoil this. So I'd stop, not fish for a few weeks, get myself really keen, and then fish a whole week of nights, you know, because it was only the nights we could fish, really. There was always working in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess one of the things that I really loved about it, and the realisation of, oh yeah, this must be pretty cool, is the amount of people that would come and say, oh mate, you've got the best job ever. You've got a dream job. And if people keep telling you that, then, you know, obviously you start to believe that, don't you? And you think, well, has everyone else got it really bad then?
What do you do? I've just cleaned up 40 dead carp, mate.
But yeah, it was a nice life. It was a pretty easy going life. And obviously you didn't have bills and stuff.
Yeah,
precious.
Yeah. What about the fishing on there, mate? Any notable captures? Any notable fish? There's some big uns in there, mate. There's a lot of big uns in there.
Yeah, not really, to be honest with you. I don't think I even caught a 50 while I was out there. Well, I know I didn't actually. I said that. But yeah, no, nothing particularly crazy on there. There's a big lake next door, 100 odd acres. And I used to like just getting in a little rowboat and rowing myself off down to the other end in the evenings, away from everyone, away from everything. Yeah. Stick a couple of rods out, put them on like a log, and like real. That was more exciting to me than
the known quantity of fishing in those lakes.
Yeah. But there was some, there's a few good stories. There was one day we were doing the rubbish run and pulled up in the car park up on Lake 3, and this guy comes walking towards us like stark bollock naked. What the hell is going on here? As if it's a normal thing. He's not like trying to cover himself up or anything, and comes walking up to the truck and, all right, boys. All right, Dave. Try and, where do I look? All right, mate. And he said, yeah. He said, me and my missus were naturists. I don't know if that's an issue. Is that a problem? Like, well, don't know, Dave. Not sure if the other customers are going to be too pleased about it. He went, yeah, she's down there with her flaps out.
Dave.
Couldn't believe it.
Wow. Morning glory, Dave.
Yeah, then
wow.
Was it the next day? She's like, I've left my shower gel in the shower. Do you mind bringing it up to me? All right. So I brought it up there, and she comes wandering over, like, because obviously they were coming to breakfast with their clothes on. But yeah, she comes wandering over, stark naked, and sort of like squats there.
What do you do with that?
And obviously, that sort of age, when you've been deprived of that sort of thing for a while, it doesn't matter that you're 17, she's 40 odd or whatever. You're still thinking, oh God, I don't need to be seeing this.
It's not good for me in any way.
But even better, right? So this is a bit of a classic, actually. So during that week, my mate's there and he's got one of his friends out. I'll keep their names nameless. And he's got a mate out for a social, and they've decided to have a barbecue. And they're up on that. There's basically lakes 3, 4, and 5 next to each other, away from the other lakes. So they've invited anyone on that, on those 3 lakes to come and have a barbecue if they wanted to. And Dave and his missus have come over and have had a few beers and a bit of a social and that. And then Dave's gone to get his rods out, and she stayed for another beer. And these 2 mates of mine, they're a bit cheeky lads, and they'd had a few.
I don't like this is going, Joe.
And they've said to her, I just fancy freeze up in the back of the van. The bailiff's van, work van. Anyway, she's kind of declined the offer.
Right.
But they've pushed it a little bit. Come on, you'll regret it for the rest of your life, type. I don't know, I think she was like half considering it, but do you know what I mean? Like,
you're joking.
Anyway, next thing you know, like fucking, my lad's swearing this.
Oh, you're right, you're right.
You bleep it out, yeah?
No, you can swear, you're fine.
We're not even after the watershed. So anyway, Dave's come round. He's a fella's come round with the and marched her back off to the swim. And the boys were like, oh no, like whatever. He was just like in the bushes down there, and he heard everything. Like we're going to lose our job here. Like we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So anyway, in the morning, they've obviously told us that before they've all come up for breakfast. And we're like, God, what's going to happen? And Dave's marched straight up to the counter where we're serving food, and he's gone, look, guys, I'm sorry about that last night. He went, city cow left the PVA out in the rain.
Jesus.
So yeah, he got away with that one.
Jeez, good job it didn't happen, mate. The old bailiff boogie rocking, mate. That is not the one, is it?
There's another guy who used to come out, and he'd come out like 7, 8 times a year. And he was a character, like real full-on character. And quite often he wouldn't actually end up fishing until like midweek. What? He'd just get absolutely smashed. He'd be walking around the lakes with like cases of beer, just getting everyone on it, basically.
What in the world?
And then on the Wednesday he'd start fishing, and he might have a few, and he'd seem a bit more relaxed, And he used to say, yeah, my missus sends me out here, doesn't she? Because she hates me, And we could not understand that she hated, but,
he's too much.
He's a bit much, and she needs a break from him every now and again,
Go off fishing and get absolutely steamed.
Yeah, so 7, 8 times a year, and it did seem a bit strange. But anyway, years later, found out that he got arrested for importing cocaine.
Oh, God, mate.
So
Oh,
that's
Pablo
why he's coming
Escobar,
out 7-8 times a year and not relaxing till the Wednesday.
Oh, my God, mate. But that, to be fair, like, the spectrum of people that you're going to meet at 17, a young impressionable lad going out for a first bit of sort of industry surrounded by carp anglers, that is going to open your eyes, mate.
Of course, yeah.
That is madness. Any really difficult customers on there? Because obviously there is a weight of expectation. Anybody make your time difficult on there, or was it all pretty much holiday spirit and lovely?
Not particularly. Like I say, it was just the ones that got really done in about blanking, and then they'd give you a bit of grief, you know. But no, I don't think we've ever had any real dramas as such. No.
And what was the fishing like in terms of for the punters? Was it pretty easy to put them on fish?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're heavily stocked lakes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would switch off a bit, and you know, but you know yourself, you know, when you've got a lake with that many fish in it, there's always a way of catching them if you can put your mind to it enough.
Yeah, too right. And how did your time on there come to an end? How long were you there for?
I was there for 2 seasons. Now, the first season, at the end of it, I went to a warehouse rave. I got home. What you do is you work a month on and then a week off throughout the year.
Oh, okay.
And I had a girlfriend at the time as well, so it was a month on, going for a week, you know, sort myself out, and then go back again. Well, but at the end of the year, we had to do a 6-week stint without going home. So I just done 6 weeks, got home. My girlfriend was like, "What do you want to do? Should we just have a quiet night in and chill out?" And I was like, "No, there's a rave going on in Ipswich at a warehouse. Like, I've got to go to that. I ain't been out for ages." Like,
yeah.
So anyway, I've gone to that. Got myself in a bit of a pickle. There was a mezzanine level, and it kind of had a ladder going off of it, but then there was these safety rings around the outside of it. During the night, for some reason, I found myself up there and saw this ladder, and I didn't think, "Oh, there's a ladder, go down there." I just thought, well, that's the way you get down. In my mind, that was how you got down, even though there's a stairs down the back. You know, like,
logical.
So I was under the influence. Anyway, so I swung down these bars that were on the outside of the ladder, and then swung out and dropped and hit the floor. And I just had a bit of a bad landing. I kind of landed on a couple that were having a smooch up, and they're like, "You're all right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like, stood up and fell over. Hang on a minute, maybe I'm not right. Fine, you know. So I've got up and realised that ankle was not in a good way. Hopped over to my mates, and I'm like, I've done my ankle in. And they're like, "What have you done?" I was like, "Well, I just," and it looked like it was swelling up and that already. I said, "Right, I reckon I've just knocked it out of its socket." So I banged it against the wall to try and
What is going on in your head, mate?
Oh, exactly, mate. Yeah, stupidity. But turns out I'd broken my tibia and my fibula. Ooh. About 1.5 inches, 2 inches up from the bottom. They had to wait a week for the swelling to go down before they could operate. And then I couldn't walk all winter. But I'd literally just about recovered by the time it was time to get back out to Dream Lakes again. So I went back out there, done another year. And then there was loads of people who kept saying, "You've got to go to Thailand, you know." And obviously, with the winters off, I had that.
Who was saying that? Like punters at the lake?
Yeah. You know, hearing their stories of it, I was like, "Yeah, I could do a bit of that." So I thought, right, I'm going to go to Thailand for a month at the end of that season. So 19 years old, went to Thailand on my own. Had a lovely time.
I suppose you're pretty independent. That's quite quick growing up terms. 17, going out and doing a proper job.
Yeah.
In France. Travel's pretty, you can do it, can't you?
Yeah. I remember a friend said to me, he said, "Well, I've done this." He went, "And when I got there, I cried." He went, "So if you feel a bit, emotional, overwhelmed by it all, it's only normal, don't worry." I remember just getting there laughing. I'm in Bangkok. What the hell am I doing here on my own? Like, I ended up staying for, during that time I was there, basically there was one of the guys on the lake that I didn't particularly get on with that well. I got on all right with him, but he seemed to have a bit of a vendetta for me, he just didn't like me getting on with his friends and just had it in for me for whatever reason, didn't particularly shine for me. So whilst I was away, he said to the bosses, "Look, if Joe's going back next year, I'm not." And he was a mega workaholic. Right. And I wasn't. So obviously I lost my job. Right. So whilst I was out there, I thought, well, I'm just going to stay until my money runs out. So I stayed another month or so, and then all the time I was out there, I wouldn't go on a motorbike. I was like, right, I do not trust myself on a motorbike. All these people I was meeting, getting absolutely battered, driving to the next town, getting even more battered, and then driving back again. I was like, mate, it's £2 for a taxi. What are you doing? Yeah. And anyway, after 8 weeks of drinking, like pretty much every day, because I slipped into that scene out there, you know, like you do, drinking all night, sleeping most of the day, getting up and then having something to eat and then drinking again, you know. Like, so after however many weeks of that, I wasn't in my same kind of sensible mentality. And I was like, I'll get a bike for, you know, a few days, it'll save me some money and blah, blah, blah. Done exactly what I thought I'd do, you know, got drunk, came off of it, ruptured my spleen.
Ruptured your spleen?
Yeah. It's a bit of a long story, to be honest with you, but basically I didn't end up going to hospital for a real long time. Like I say, the accident happened at 6 a.m. Didn't actually end up going to hospital until 1 o'clock the following morning. And when I went in to be checked out and that, the guy was like, right, if you could just lay back. And I was having these pains like someone was stabbing me all over my chest and my stomach, you know. And when he sort of went to push me back to lay down, those pains hit me again. And like, he realised how much pain I was in, you know. So anyway, give me a big shot of pethidine and all was well in the world.
Yeah.
Then I had to they said, right, we'll do a X-ray first, see how that goes. They couldn't see what was going on with the X-ray. So then they done a CT scan. They said, right, we're still not sure what's wrong with you. We're just going to have to open you up. I was like, yeah, cool. You know, whatever you. I think the pethidine helped with that. Yes. But I was like, look, doc, you know what you're doing. Go for it. So I've rung my parents before going into the surgery. I'm like, look, I've just got to have a little operation. Don't worry. I'll ring you in the morning, let you know it's all gone all right. So,
in Thailand as well.
Yeah. Jeez. So I've gone in for the operation, come out, doctor's come round, he says, okay, look, you ruptured your spleen. So we've had to remove it. And basically, I thought to myself the day before, I was like, my stomach seems a bit swollen, because I'm so thin anyway. My mate's like, oh, shut up, you skinny bugger. Anyway, 3 litres of blood had internally bled inside me.
Wow.
And when you rupture your spleen, this is what I found out since, I didn't even know what spleen was before that. When you rupture your spleen, you've got 25 hours. And if it's not fixed in that 25 hours, you will die of internal bleeding.
You bleed out, literally.
So by the time I went in surgery, it's like 3 a.m. I was only a few hours off dying, really, if I hadn't have got myself there.
Don't get on a moat.
But how's this for luck, yeah?
Go on.
Most people only have one spleen, don't they? I had a spare one.
How have you got a spare spleen?
I don't know.
Get one. I'll have one.
Yeah.
I'll take that in the spares section.
But yeah, he said, look, we had to remove your spleen, but he said you had a little baby spleen. He said, we don't know whether it will do the job of the old one or not. You're just going to have to see how it goes. And I got back to England. They said, look, you're going to have to take antibiotics for 2 years because we're not treating this as if you have got a spare one.
Yeah.
So I took antibiotics for 6 months, and then I didn't even know the dangers of such things then. They're horrendous things, you know.
Yeah.
Ruined your stomach, bacteria, and yeah, they caused me a lot of problems for a lot of years, that did, without even realising it. But anyway, so after 6 months, I thought, I don't need these. My new spleen's going to do the job of the old one. It's going to do a better job of the old one. And I took myself off of them and was absolutely fine, you know. In fact, I used to get tonsillitis quite regularly before I had that spleen removed, and since having it removed, I only had it once. And that was, 18 years ago or something like that, so...
That is an eventful chapter in the life of you, mate, isn't it?
It is a bit, isn't it?
What? 2 questions here. Your parents, just generally, from you being away bailiffing or working at Dream Lakes to going to Thailand, what were their thoughts around that? How did they react to you breaking the news and saying, look, I'm going to go out there?
My parents are all pretty cool. Yeah, they've always been pretty cool, pretty liberal, and yeah, you know, if you're doing something that makes you happy, do it, you know?
Cool.
So, yeah, it wasn't too much an issue. What happened was when I come out of surgery and I rung home to say, yeah, right, Dad, yeah, just had ruptured my spleen, it's all right, I've had that whipped out, I've got a new one. Can I speak to Mum? He's like, no. Why? Where is she? She's on a plane to Thailand.
Yeah, do not. She is already gone as a mother. What a nightmare. That must be, I wouldn't want that phone call from my kids, mate. Do you know what I mean?
No, it must have been horrendous for them.
In terms of your time out in Thailand, you said there that you sort of slipped into your daytime sort of get up late, drink, party side of Thailand. Do you think that was because of the fact that when you were at Dream Lakes and you spent so much time of your sort of adolescence and teenage years, you didn't really have that whole party scene there? No, you sort of were quite, it's quite regimented, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it is that so much. I think it was just literally, you know, at that age, it was probably more just to do with where I ended up first.
Yeah, where did you go? Bangkok, you said? Where did you go from there?
Went to Koh Samui, and there was a little town called Lamai. I just looked on my book, you know, like as you do. And well, these days it'd be on the internet, wouldn't you? But I just went to a little town called Le Mans, and like I say, just slipped into that, which I despise that kind of thing. Now I don't even drink now.
Yeah.
I had half a beer on my birthday a few days ago, and I was half cut, half a Stella.
Yeah, mate. But any fishing out in Thailand?
Not then. No, I have since. Yeah. Been over there a few times since.
Yeah, some ridiculous fishing out Gillam's Way and the likes of those resorts are mad out there, aren't they?
Yeah. But so yeah, got back from Thailand. Obviously, I didn't have a job. Doctor told me to have a couple of months off. So before I started fishing at Dream Lakes, I was fishing for a carp called Dippy in Snake Pit. And so obviously I now had the perfect time to try and settle that score. So that is what I've done, yeah.
Talk to me about your time on there. You said early days you went down Snake Pit and you caught some bits and sort of lit the fire, so to speak.
Yeah.
How did you then come to, obviously Snake Pit's well known in terms of what was in there, but how did you then come to go, right, well, I'm going to go and target the carp that are in Snake Pit now?
So obviously in my younger days, I met Damien. I'd seen Damien's picture of the Snake Pit Common, epic carp, heard the stories. And so, you know, from the garrison, I started to go and have a little look up there. And I remember when I had a look up there one day, it was only like a mile walk from my house. And this guy called Lee Apps was fishing there, and I knew him he was one of the first people I actually met at the garrison.
Right.
Anyway, so he was like, I was a little punisher in them days. You know, I think he just wanted me out of his way. He was like, here's me glasses, go and have a look in the corner, you'll probably see it. Like, what hangs around in that corner? What? Give me these glasses like held together with like sellotape and plasters and stuff. Like, I remember going up there and watching water for about 10-15 minutes, and I saw this tench come through. It was crystal clear water, full of trees and snags. It's underwater jungle. I saw this tench come through. I was like, I proper buzzed up just about seeing this tench, you know. And then about 5 minutes later, in come the common, which to this day is still one of the most impressive fish. I suppose at that age, first massive one you've seen in the water, it's going to be even more impressive. But there was something really special about that carp. Like totally like symmetrical, mint, dark, just a mega fish. And I remember looking at it going, one day when I'm good enough, I'm coming back to catch it. You know? Unfortunately, they stocked some wrong uns into there and some catfish and whatever, and ended up killing off that one, sadly. Then years later, because there was nothing else in there really at that point, years later, we heard that someone had been slipping some fish in, like the sub-breeder who'd got control of it then, sort of up to £20. But I was just like, well, I've always wanted to fish there. If there's fish up to £20 in there, I'll go and have a go, you know. Unbeknown to us, Dippy had been put in there. You know, I could imagine if I would have caught that when he didn't even know it was in there. Like, so it's a massive fault, because I probably wouldn't have even recognised it from, you know, wouldn't have put two and two together and gone, that's that one from the river. You know, you would have just been, oh my God, I've caught this unknown.
How big was it at that time?
Sort of low 40s.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was over 40, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yeah. So then it was like, well, new buzz. Yeah. Also in them times, it was like, there's people like, oh, I've seen this big orange one, and I've seen this one. So it's like there was a new mystery of the place, you know. But it transpired there wasn't any other big, massive ones. It was just they sometimes looked a bit bigger in the water, you know. But yeah, so then that became a new obsession at that point. I think I was working at Snags, and I actually, so one of my first nights that year, so it's like the year after the first year, we realised that fish was in there, and the likes of like Jim Shelley turned up. In fact, my first night that year, Jim was on the point. I think it was still quite cold. Might have been April or something like that.
Right.
Late March even. Anyway, I woke up in the morning and all I could hear was Dippy! Going across the land. Not the most pleasant alarm clock I've ever had, I can tell you. But anyway, I was like, what? Jim's at Dippy? What? So I've run round there. It's probably about 300 metres or so. I sprinted round there. You know what I mean? The first proper big carp I would have seen on the bank. Got there, totally out of breath. And the steam coming off of Jim, you know, like there's mist off the lake and steam off of Jim, and he was just stood there with his net. Like, and the first thing he said was, go and get a sack, my one's already got one in it or something like that. Go and get. Like, it's just like go and get a sack. I was like, oh, all right, yeah, cheers.
Go back 300
hell, I ain't running back. I walked back. You have to bleep these swearing now. I don't like swearing. I don't know where it's coming from.
You're fine, mate.
Must be the nerves.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was the first time I'd seen, or a few of us actually, a real big carp on the bank, and
that stoked the fires even more to get your hands on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How were you fishing? Were you? Because this point you're still young. How are you approaching trying to target that fish?
I don't think I ever particularly tried to target that one, and it was just fishing. That's always the way it's been with me. It's rare that I ever try and just get fully into the mindset of that particular fish. Right, I've got obsessed with just that one. I think that if you just fish for bites, the big uns generally tend to come along. But yeah, I mean, it was a very weedy lake. I remember I'd done really well that summer fishing loads of hemp, like big 20-litre bucket of hemp and a handful of peanuts over the top of it. I remember I'd put some peanuts on a bar in the bay one day. Went back 20 minutes later, there's 4 fish ripping up this bar, and I was like, it was the first time I'd used peanuts. Like, oh my God, this is
the magic.
Yeah. And then, ended up catching quite a few. I had 6 bites one morning.
Did you?
Doing that. It was just, like I say, a handful of peanuts over a ton of, not a ton, but a lot of hemp. I haven't even used that amount of hemp since. Maybe I need to be honest.
Was it the spot relatively close? And how were you putting it all that?
Yeah, just spodding it out. Yeah, take a while. But again, like when you're like sweating and you've got spod mix dripping all over you, you think, yeah, this is effort, and effort equals reward.
Hardcore carper, mate. Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting because obviously, like I say, it was the first kind of place that stumbled across these type of anglers. The headhunter carp anglers. And
what was that whole scene like? Because obviously, as you say, like you've had the likes of Jim Shelley on there, others mixing it with those guys. What was it like? Generally?
Yeah, it was a bit of an eye opener. Yeah, I remember. I don't know whether I should go into such things really, but I can remember Jim celebrating after catching Dippy, and his mate had caught it, Mark, as well. And Jim shouting across the lake, "Do you know who I am? Do you know what I've had?" And like leaving the cider cans propped up on trees everywhere, and put me off him a little bit.
I imagine it's quite intimidating in that sort of environment. I think I can remember a few times younger, sort of bumping into top carpers and being like, or whatever, and sort of seeing them in action and being a bit like, wow. Yeah, I'm not there. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, it could be different for different people depending on who's on there, I suppose. But it sounds interesting, man.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's good. It's always good to see how people go about their fishing. And like you say, if you've got a lake where lots of the same people have been fishing it for a long time, everyone gets stuck in a mentality. Suddenly, someone appears who does something completely different, like Jim. Hats off to him. He's a carp catching machine.
Yeah.
And he was at the time like just spraying bait all over the middle of the lake, and then just fishing pop-ups over the top of it. And he caught quite a lot of fish doing it, but just literally spreading them everywhere, and a lot of it as well.
Yeah. What was tackle, rigs, and things like at this point for you? Are you quite riggy at that point? Are you thinking about things like that, or are you just, as you say,
Quite simple, yeah. I've always kept my rigs fairly simple. I think in them sort of days, it literally would have just been, probably hybrid stiff or something like that. A stiff coated hook link, hook, little bit of shrink tube, very basic kind of stuff. Yeah.
You're strong and pretty reliable on that.
Yeah. I mean, even these days, I don't use like a massive variety of rigs. I think I've got to that point now where I'm not happy with 3 or 4, and they'll be used for most of my fishing.
What are your 3 or 4, mate?
Spinner, choddy, solid bag.
Yeah, you like a solid bag, don't you, mate?
Yeah. And a zig, like more sort of shorter zigs than real long zigs. But I think with a lot of my fishing these days, I prefer to have kind of fish in the moment. I think one of the things that makes it a lot harder for us is the amount of disturbance we make. You know, when you turn up in a swim and you're whipping the water to a foam trying to find that perfect little spot, and then you spot in and you put 3 rigs out or whatever it is, I think, you know, the fish have dispersed. Excuse me. One thing I noticed fishing small waters was how aware fish are of your presence, you know? And so you think, well, if you're making all that disturbance, they're just going to disappear. So anyway, yeah, basically point being that I like to be able to get on fish. So look where the fish are, find where they're happy and where they're feeding naturally, and then just fish for a bite on them. So it's kind of minimal disturbance.
Yeah.
And minimal kind of options for them as well. You know, if you're fishing a single hook bait all on its own, then and they see it, all their focus and energy and attention is on that single, isn't it? You know, they haven't got anything else to take into. Oh, it doesn't look like that, or that was a bit alien to this, or so yeah, they've only got to go down and check out that one bait, and you've hooked them.
Yeah. Talk to me about back to Snake Pit. About you came back, didn't you, after your time away?
Yeah. So that was where we were going. So I came back to. I lost Dippy on my 15th night or 14th night.
Was it definitely Dippy?
Yeah. So basically what happened is hooked this fish and it's torn off for this wee bed, and then for another one, and I've got it back a bit, and then it's gone for a bit more, and then it got back a bit, and the hook pulled. And as I've reeled in the hook, there's a little round scale just pricked into it. Oh. So obviously as it slid down the body, it's just pricked that little hook, and then lo and behold, a little white mark on the side of it in the snags. And I remember just feeling like, you know, when you've lost a real big, and it's like you feel it in your stomach, like just sickening.
You can't explain that feeling to a non-carp angler. It's horrible, mate.
Yeah, and then I've done loads more nights after that. So then I come back, like I say, from my travels, got told I had to have a couple of months off, told no drinking, no heavy lifting, you know, like, so I thought, well, I'll just go fishing then, perfect. And I can't really remember the build-up to the session as such, but that particular session was my birthday, and it was the first time I'd actually been fishing on my birthday. So it was beginning of May, 2nd of May, my birthday is. And there was a southwesterly blowing which blows over to the snags. I think the week before I'd fished the snag swim, which you kind of fishing across to the snags are all on your left, and you're fishing out off the side of them. So the fish have only got to kite a little bit and you're stuffed. And I'd lost one doing that. I thought, you know what? Next time I'm going to come and fish it from the point. So I was like casting 90 odd yards over to the mouth of these snags.
Right.
I had a straight line on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just single hook baits, single pineapples, I think it was. And birthday session, first night, the day before my birthday, had an 18-pounder from that spot. So I was like, right, it works. Do you know what I mean? I dragged a snag back with it as well. Like, I thought it was like a massive, as you can imagine. But I thought, right, that's, thanks, appreciate the present, but I think the lake's got another present for me yet, And Dippy had actually been out a week and a half before that. I took pictures of it for a mate, and I'd said to him at the time, you're out of order, you stole my birthday present, So anyway, I didn't expect to catch that, but there was a comment in there that was 30 odd pound. I thought, well, that would do for a birthday, that'd be lovely. Then days gone by, I'd arranged to go home and have a family meal.
Okay.
As you do. So I went home late afternoon, and my mate had come and set up next to me, pretty much doubling up, but he was fishing a different bit of water, It was a different swim, so the end of the point goes out that way, and then the side of the point is obviously out that way. And I thought, well, he's here, McGee's. Do you know what? Rods ain't going to go. I'll leave him out. So I've left me rods out and gone home for my birthday dinner, had a lovely, lovely meal and that, and then take my feet off the table and keep moving everything, don't I? Got back, sat there, and I remember, I saw one stick its head out and in the air. I was like, oh, here we go. It's on. And there was a proper like southwesterly wind, but it felt like, the planets were aligning, if you like. I'd only been back 10 minutes, and dink, single bleep on the old locked up snag rod. I thought, well, that's bite. Went into it, and this fish just like from 90 yards that way, just kited. I didn't get hardly any line on it, and it's just kiting across the lake. And anyone who knows snake pit, there's all kinds of random snags in there, and it's just gone all the way across, past over my mate's lines, all three of them, and then playing it from his swim around the side of the point. And it's rolled about 15 yards out. It was an epic battle. And I thought, what is this? And it's rolled, and I've just seen it. It's like, oh my God, it's Dippy.
Come on.
And yeah, got in the net, and what an absolute buzz, you know, huge carp, 20th birthday, 45, 8, I think it was.
Happy birthday.
And yeah, I had a few mates come and visit me for a little drink that night. And
is that your first 40?
yeah.
Was it? But you'd had a 30 from Snake Pit before, or not?
No.
Just a couple
No,
of
do you know
20.
what? I hadn't had a 30.
Hadn't you?
I
Straight
had
to
a
40?
Yeah. I lost the 2 out of the garrison, which I was
Yeah.
scattered about because one of them, well, they both ended up dying in the end, but one of them ended up dying in that time, you know. I wrapped round a reed, it was like 37 pound at the time, the big, and it'd gone round this reed in front of me. I could see it in the torchlight, and it's like, couldn't quite get to it with the net, and then it just managed to pop the hook. And then obviously went to Dream Lakes, so I was out there for a couple of years. And so, yeah, the only place I'd fished with 30s in it really was the garrison, and I'd lost both of them, but didn't manage to catch one of them. So coming back from there and then going on to there, obviously I'd caught loads of 30s and quite a few 40s at Dream Lakes, but yeah, that was my first English 30 was a 40.
What a fish, mate.
Yeah, and like I say, quite a few people come and had a little social. It is quite an amusing one actually, because got to, I don't know, probably about 8, 9 o'clock, and everyone was like, "Go get that rod back out, Joe. Got to get." I was like, half cut by this point, probably more than half, you know. And I was like, nah, well, I'm like, wait, yeah, you could have the comment. Imagine that. Anyway, so after about 5 minutes of convincing me, I was like, all right, so I've tied up a fresh rig, hinge stiffies at the time it was, lined it up for this big chuck, 90 yards, whack, and it's cracked off.
Oh, no.
But I've hit something, I mean, like the bivvy or whatever. What's for? Anyway, I was like, well, that's that then.
Sod it.
And then, like, one of our mates had been a little bit quiet. He hadn't said anything. And about 5 minutes later, basically, he kind of admitted to someone he didn't want to. I don't know why he didn't want to admit it. You know, he was a bit done in by it. I'd cracked off in his arse.
No way.
I looked him in his arse cheek and cracked up like.
He must have been in agony, mate.
I don't know how he kept quiet about it for so long.
I wouldn't be quiet, mate, if I had a big old shoddy hook in me.
5 stiff rigger in your
Oh, my
arse.
God. So he literally had your rig in his backside, past the barb.
Yeah.
What a party that is, boys. Did you have to take him down the hospital to get it out?
No, I think we just got it out.
Oh,
but,
brutal.
savage.
Did you end up putting the rig back on and chucking it out? No.
I didn't actually do that, no.
That is the ultimate crack off, mate. That, isn't it? What a story. And then obviously for you, was that time done on there after that capture, or did you try and stay for the other common or not?
No, I did. Yeah. Sorry, my memory is so tainted. So I did, because I remember actually going down there one day, messaging someone. I was putting my rods out. Someone messaged me and said, "Have you heard?" And Dippy had been caught like the day before, I think.
Right.
And that's why I went down there. I thought, well, it's come out, so I'll go down and try and catch the common now. And they went, "Have you heard?" I went, yeah, it's been out. Yeah. I went, no, it's dead. Like, we're burying it now. And I'm like, where are you then? Like, and they were just round the back on the other side and went round and helped them bury it. Basically, someone had caught it during spawning or very close to spawning. And it didn't deal with the heat and whatever so very well, and sadly passed away. So I think I had a little go then, but then it got. Oh, hang on. I pulled off there for a bit. It obviously got bigger. I think it went £40 one year, and then
Did it?
when I was 22. Sadly, like, my dad died of cancer, and I kind of lost my head a little bit,
Yeah.
like for everything. And the lads at Korda were like, "Look, you know, like, take as much time off as you want."
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I just, like, I'll crack on. No, I'm one of these people. I'd rather keep my mind busy, you know, rather than deal with things. But anyway, I fancy going fishing. I hadn't been, and Snake Pit was obviously the first place I'd been fishing with my dad. So I thought, I'm going to go with Snake for a couple of nights. I don't know if I should say this, but I didn't even have a ticket.
No, yeah.
Just grasped myself in there, didn't I?
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I've gone over there. I baited up the night before, put a bucket of bait in. I'd gone down there and there was all this weed over in the swim. I think Zen had raked it out,
Yeah.
but left it there to put people off going in it, you know, and it was like decaying weeds. And I thought about moving it myself, but I thought, well, no, I want to use that for the same reason, really.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
So yeah, I put out this bucket of spod mix and then came back the next day, and then in the morning caught the big common.
Did you?
Yeah, it was 36 at the time, but it just felt like something, you know,
I'd be in tears,
some kind
mate.
of magic had gone on.
I'd be in tears, mate. Straight up. I wouldn't. That is definitely something up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
After all that time, and then you come back on after those events, and it happens. Yeah, a little bit more than just coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah. So then a few years later, I decided because I hadn't caught like the big linear out of there, and there was a couple of other 30s I hadn't had, and I was like, I want to go back and catch these ones, you know. So I went back, got my head into the place, and the common was massive at that point, like £50.
Was it over 50?
Yeah, it was just before spawning, and I had this swim going. I was fishing down these margins, and I had like the original GoPro camera, and I was like, I'm just going to put. There was a little spot in the edge where I'd feed them, like probably about 20 foot away from where my actual rig was, you know.
Okay.
So I went and put this camera in there, put some bait in, and just left it running for 20 minutes or whatever it was, however much I could get on a card or battery, I can't remember. And then went and got that, put it in my laptop, and sat there watching through it. And I remember like seeing this tench. I was just like, the perch first. What the fuck, the perch? I was mega excited just about seeing a little perch on screen. And then the tench come through. I was like, whoa. And then the big one come through. I was like, whoa. Like, it looked enormous.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended up, was it that afternoon? Hooked one. Got down the snags and pulling. And what happened? Did I jump in the lake the first one? Yeah, jumped in the lake, but because I jumped in the lake, I didn't quite have the footing that I needed. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you're better on terra firma, aren't you? Because you jump in the edge and it's like a bit silty. You haven't got that solid grip on your feet and that. So anyway, managed to steer it out of the danger, away from the snags, into this channel, and then it was proper like rods hooped over. What happened? Hook link broke.
No.
And that same hook link I'd used over frying in a few weeks before, and I'd hooked an 80-pound cat, and I wanted to lose this cat.
Yeah, and you were trying all you could.
Nothing gave.
That's
well, you know, I didn't want it. I just was testing my gear to its maximum, shall we say, you know? And it didn't go, but yeah, it went in this circumstance. And then the next, so I was gutted, because by that point I was like, even though I'd caught it, I kept seeing it, and I was like,
£50.
I want it at 50. I want to catch snake pits for 50, which is a bit sad, really. But anyway, so I was gutted, and then I wasn't sure it was it. I couldn't be 100% sure. Just in my heart, felt like it was. So the next day, I went looking for it, like in the snags. Thought if I lost it, I'll be able to see. So I looked up there for about 10, 15 minutes. It's come swimming through. Looked pretty chilled. I thought, well, maybe I didn't then, you know. So gone down, put the camera in again, put some more bait in. I was using maggots at the time. No one really used maggots on there. And see, at that time of year, they just gorge themselves and they can't see the fear in them, and they just have to eat them. Anyway, check the card again, and lo and behold, it's the common again. Like, bloody hell. And then it turned, and there was like 2 or 3 scales missing on one side. I was like, oh no. So I did lose it. But
he was back on it.
He's back. He's eating, you know. And then later that afternoon, I had another bite, same kind of thing again, jumped in, I'll shoot round, and this time it just managed to get around a little branch and unhooked itself. And I'm pretty convinced, 99% sure, I lost that fish twice in a day, and it was almost like the lake just going, you shouldn't be trying to catch this anyway, you know. Yeah, and then I caught the linear. So yeah, I kind of left it there.
Linear on maggots again. Were maggots your edge?
Yeah.
The same.
In fact, do you know what? I caught a linear that next day, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, and then didn't fish for a month. Come back a month later, fished the total opposite side of the lake. I caught the linear again. All them years I fished it, never caught it, and then you catch it twice in the
that is
2
weird,
sessions.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And again, mate, it's the power of maggots. And that's why I think that I was able to hook and lose that fish. Or hook it twice in 2 days. You know, it's just the time of year when they're just before spawning, they get all our energy in we can, and then that combination of those things that they can't.
Wrigglers.
Yeah.
The power of the wriggler,
ignore,
mate.
can they?
They are pretty devastational, aren't they, mate? That is an unbelievable chapter on Snake Pit, mate.
I love the place. It's such a cool lake, and obviously they've stocked. I say obviously it's not obvious to everyone, but now they've stocked VS Fisheries fish in there. They're coming on well.
Are they?
Yeah, I think they're hitting £30. But they're all dark and right up. It's one of them lakes, it's so rich in natural and clear water that they just, they'll go really dark. Yeah. They'll become their own unique characters in no time. And the lineage's still about. It's probably somewhere around the £40 mark, I imagine. But he's quite an old one now as well, an old male as well. So, he's not a fast grower. But, yeah, that place. And the social side that came with it was really cool as well. A lot of the time people would reel in the day and there'd be people visiting all the time. We'd all be in someone's swim, having a good old social, which kind of like, I don't really get a lot of that anymore. Like these days I'm too focused and, obsessed, if you like. And everyone seems to be like, people stop when you swim for 5-10 minutes, have a chit chat, but then you're off. But in them days, we'd all just sit around all day drinking tea and
different times, mate, isn't it?
Yeah,
seems to be, as you say. From there and Snake Pit, you've obviously said that there's been significant in terms of your life. You've come back, Korda, you're associated with and involved with, and then also obviously the sad passing of your dad as well. They're big episodes in your life. How did you then, from coming back, get involved in the industry? How did that all happen?
Coming back from
Thailand and travels.
Basically, obviously I was good friends with Damien and had worked with him at the shop, and he basically said, look, we'll create a position for you at Korda, pretty much. And it was assistant to him and Danny, I think it was at the time.
Okay.
But although they kind of created a position for me, I still had to go for an interview, and the job was still put out for other people. Apologies to anyone who went for that interview. But I remember at the time, Danny was like, he probably wanted me to say, he's like, what's your dream job? It's quite a good interview question, isn't it? You know? Probably wanted me to say something like, I'd love to design tackle or whatever it is within the fishing world. But I think I said, I want to be a porn star.
Porn star?
But my knob wasn't big enough. That was my response to it. Obviously, I was just like making lighthearted of the situation rather than trying to give someone the answer they really want to hear.
Yeah. But so that's quite nice in terms of feeding straight into the industry.
I didn't really want to be a porn star.
I'm taking that as gospel, mate. Many a true word said in jest,
Dirk
mate.
Diggler.
And then obviously from there, you're fishing, being involved in the industry after Snake Pit. Where did you sort of spread your wings to? And...
So, obviously started working at Korda, and then North Met was just down the road. So I got a little taste for that place. At first, I started fishing the north side of it, which is like, they call it the fingers. Right. There's a pipe that goes through from the main lake into the top section. And up there, it's totally overgrown and just feels like, the lake that time forgot, if you like, You could die up there, no one would find you for months on end, But it was really cool. And some of the fish would come through the pipe. Yeah. But there was another one in there, used to be a resident in there called the Barrel, which was like, I think it was 44 or 45 pound, mega old carp. And that had kind of gone on the missing list, but there was some people who thought they'd seen it. And I think one of the first times I went for a look up there, I did see a massive fish. There was a little bird hut thing that you could, platform that you could stand and get a view of over the lake, and this big chunk of a carp come through, and it was like waddling, had a big pasty belly, which this is kind of, it fitted the description. Well, not just description, I'd seen a picture of this barrel. So I was like, right, it's in here, I'm having a go for this. And I think Telwood had been up and had a little go up there as well, because I think it was even him that called it waddle or something like that because of the way it swam. Anyway, I'd done 10 nights in this one swim, and I was baiting it and just, going doing work nights and off to Korda in the day and back again. And I think it's my 10th night. I hooked this fish, a real big, powerful, heavy carp. And it was a dodgy little swim I was fishing in. It was like island here, island there, island there, island there, and these channels in between. There was snags off of this island. And anyway, so I hooked into it, and it's kited right straight for these snags. And I thought, man, just put on the pressure, and I just go, "Whoa." Anyway, I'm just about managed to steer it away from them ones. Then it's kited across this left-hand island. And I just stopped it before it got to them snags, and then it was almost like it gave up. You know, like when they're on the top, like golden water, like
Yeah.
But it was still 25 yards out, and I couldn't get me like there was a bit of a tight swim. I couldn't get my rod lower, so I was just kind of pulling it like that, you know. And then it shook its head, and the hook came flying out and landed next to my
You've
feet.
had some losses here. Can you imagine? Horrendous.
Yeah, no, I just knew that was that one that I was after.
Yeah.
And then I think I'd done a few more nights in that swim, but every time I reeled in my baits in the morning, they smelt horrific. And the bar I'd had obviously come quite quickly after putting my rods out. And I just convinced myself that wasn't the area to be in. And obviously after losing it there as well, and that wasn't one. So I went down the other end and started baiting a different area. I think I'd done another 10 nights without a bite. And then I just kept hearing about all these big ones getting caught on the main lake, you know. I was like, oh, I've got to go and have a little go over there. And
So you left it and went?
Yeah, moved over to the other lake and I had it was a swim. They've actually called it, I think it's been shortened to Kordas now rather than Korda Joes.
Right.
But this swim I'd been put onto by a friend. He used to fish it back in the old days, and he said, oh, like, good little swim on the path there. Doesn't really get fished a lot. In the autumn, there's a feature out there that's, you know, they quite often use. So I was like, all right, noted. You know. And so I started fishing that spot and baiting that spot. And
What was the spot like?
it was a real mad one, actually, because I think they call it the spoon bar or something. But it was about 40 yards. It was like 13 foot on top of it and sort of 18 foot on either side, I think. But it was so thin that even though you were clipped up at exactly the same mark, depending how you let that rod drop, you're on it or off it. You know, it was quite a frustrating spot to be able to get on. But being that it was the only kind of feature in that area, they obviously visited it. You know, it's like one of their points of reference. That's what I think features are sometimes, like how they know where they are in the lake. It's like, oh yeah, that's it.
I'm here. It's the spoon.
But yeah, I ended up catching L's fish.
Wow.
And a few others, a couple of 30s. And
what was the lead up to that capture? Was that just out of the blue, or was there?
No, that spot was beginning to rock, and I was having to pull off and go to work, and I just felt like I was missing out. Then I'd see him bubbling and that when I was having to pull off. But I was putting out quite a lot of particles, and I thought to myself, right, you know, you've got the spot working now. Just use less particles and more boilies. Not loads of boilies, but boilies, you know, just so there's not so many items there for them to have to sieve through. But also, because I thought I'm missing out here, like when I'm having to go to work, this particular session, I felt like it was on, you know, like you do when you just get that feeling, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Sixth sense, if you like. Now I messaged Damien and said, look, feels good. Can I stay a bit longer? Is it all right if I come in at like 9 or 10 or something like that? And he was like, yeah, no worries, mate, crack on. Very good of him.
Yeah.
And then, literally like half hour after I normally would have left, I had L's fish. I think it's 40, 41 or something like that. But,
what was the fight like? Did you notice that fish?
No, I mean, they all fight pretty hard in there. No, I didn't notice that fish until it kind of rolled over the cord, because there was quite a few big ones in there at that time as well. But that was the one I wanted out of all of them.
Yeah.
That was the main one in my head. That, and there's one called Moon Scale as well, which is still going. Right. Apparently it's 50 pounder now. Big mega old carp, huge scales down the back of it. And I kind of pulled off after having L's fish, just because it was, by that point, it was like late autumn, and I think we went to France for like a Korda jolly, and you know what it's like, you just slip out of that flow of things. And
you've got to be on it, haven't you? You know what I mean? That regularity of being in the place, you can sometimes, I've been in the same situation where other things have come in and you sort of, you get out of touch, don't you? It's like starting again.
But that swim, I could have rinsed that swim if I carried on fishing there, I'm sure, you know, because I'd only just started to get it rocking.
But you caught the one you wanted, mate.
Exactly.
That's good. In terms of that and the start of Carp TV for you, where in the timeline are we? So you're Korda days, fishing on there. When did you decide that Carp TV would be, I'm going to go for this and launch this?
It wasn't my idea.
Was it not your idea?
No. See, this is what probably quite a few people think, and they probably think, hang on a minute. He started this company and then he sold it to Elliot, and now he's starting another one.
I thought it was your idea.
Do you know what I mean? There's probably quite a few people out there who think that. Cheeky bugger. No, so I was working at Korda. A guy called Nick Reed started Carp TV. The reason he started it, he'd done quite a lot of filming for Kevin.
Yeah.
And he'd done remember they done a video of a Titan, how to set up a Titan that used to come with every Titan. VHS, old school.
Classic, mate, that, isn't it?
So he'd done quite a bit with him. And then he was out, I think, filming on these lakes with Brody and Cash, or Cash and someone else. Oh, no, Mark Holmes.
Mark Holmes, yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it was them who kind of said, I'm surprised no one's done, like a regular fishing show. Right. And I think he thought, well, I could do that. So he started it, and he had Nigel Botherway presenting it for the first year. And they called Korda. I spoke to Damien actually and said, look, would you like to come out with us? Spend a day with you, filming, fishing. And Damien's he's never been that into doing sort of bits on camera and whatever. I was in the office at the time, and this is just like little moments in life. You think, well, that was, a pivotal moment. If I wasn't in the office at that time and Ali was, or whoever someone else was, then I probably wouldn't be sat here now, you know? So he said, look, Joe, do you want to go out with this Carp TV for a day? I was like, what, a day's fishing, getting paid? Yeah, all right.
Sign me up.
So, we went out, and I hadn't seen it by this point, but I realised, hang on a minute, this is a really good idea. This has got huge potential. However, it was pretty corny. It was cheesy because Nick wasn't a carp angler.
Okay.
And Nigel's a bit of an all-rounder and whatever. I don't know. It didn't have that kind of slick carpy thing about it that it needed, to make it more successful. So I thought, well, this is me. You need me. Not in an egotistical way, but just like you need a carp angler. Recently, a couple of months before that, we'd been out to France on a jolly, and I'd ended up catching a lot of fish. Like, I wasn't actually meant to be.
That was the Thinking Tackle episode, was it not?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't even meant to be there because that was like your yearly jolly.
Okay.
And that year they'd said that if you want to come, you can't have it as unpaid holiday like they had every other year. It's got to be out of your holiday. And I was like, well, I've worked in France. I've been to France every year. I don't really want to use 25% of my holiday up, like fishing with you lot. Excuse me. So, basically a week before they went, Dan said, look, Joe, I want to put this project together whilst I'm out there. It's like your guide to holiday carp fishing. It's going to be a book and a DVD. I want you to come out, take pictures, take notes, and then you can fish at night and I'll pay you. So, all right, sweet. Yeah, I'll do that then. And as it turned out, I ended up doing really well in just doing the nights. And the plan for the show wasn't going exactly how they wanted it to. They had he's going to do long range, he's going to do this, but they weren't catching. Yeah. And I suddenly started catching loads of big ones, so they had to bring me on the show. Forced
to bring you in, mate.
Yeah, before that, if someone said, we're going to get, I was no way, you're not getting me in front of a camera.
Oh, really? So you're quite apprehensive about that?
In fact, the lake that because we used to film these trips, that particular lake, I used to joke that I'm not going on there because I'll catch one so big I won't be able to pick it up, and I just make myself look like a mug on camera. Just jokingly, to be fair. But I ended up basically, I fished for 2 nights on another lake, didn't catch anything. And the year before, I'd blanked all week. So I was like, right, I'm not doing this again. I'm moving. And there was one lake, this Pirouet, that only had 3 anglers on it, but we'd normally have 4. We'd split the lake into 4. So there was 1/4 of the lake, if you like, that was still free. So I've gone over there, had a look, seen the winds blowing in. It just looked good. So I was like, right, moving around here, put some bait out, went off to do my work bits. And come back in the evening, put the rods out, had I think it was 49 to start with, which was a PB at the time, and it was a right awkward one to hold. I was like, see, I told you. Then I had a 40, I think it was 47 common, and then I think in the morning it was a 50, then another. Basically, it was crazy. It really was. I had 4 40s, 5 50s, and a 60. Wow! In 4 nights, which, nowadays there's probably loads of lakes you could do that on, but that was quite a while ago, and it was a big hit of big fish for those times. And point being, Dan done a little interview with me, and it all seemed to go all right. And Dan was like, "Oh, you're a natural," and so I was like, "Oh, right, cheers, cool." Well, I found it all right actually. Then going back to what we were talking about, when Carp TV rang up and said, "Do you want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, so I can do that." And yeah, that kind of gave me the confidence to do it. And the other thing was I was a bit fed up of Korda at the time anyway. Not just basically like the travelling, a lot of travelling, a lot of hours working, and yeah, I've done 5 years of it. I think 5 years of one thing is it's quite a big chunk, and variety is the spice of life and all that. And I was just ready to do something else. But I was like, well, what are you going to do? You haven't really got any other qualifications as such. And so, yeah, that was where my head was at that time. And then like the Carp TV thing popped up. I went out with them and I just said to him, right, you need me. One of the things that I said to you was like the driving. I was fed up with the driving.
Yeah.
Well, Carp TV was based 5 minutes from my house.
Was it?
Like, it was almost like I say, it was fate.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of stars aligning, isn't there, in these chapters?
Yeah, so yeah, I took that on, and it was good.
So they basically said they wanted somebody to run with the concept. They'd still do all the camera work.
Yeah, it was me that said, look, this is a really good idea, but you need a carp angler involved, and you need, like the content needs to be more carpy, less cheesy.
And that was the Carp TV. What did you develop in that, or how much sort of, I'm guessing, straight initially, you were able to sort of pick who you went with, where you went, what you did. You had sort of creative license over the whole thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's brilliant, mate. What were your highlights from that time there? Because that's a lot that's gone in there.
Yeah, it was 9 years.
That's what I mean. What were you sort of, when you look back at your sort of 9 years collectively, what are your standout moments in that? Yeah, tough question, I know.
It is a bit, isn't it? I mean, obviously, it was always a pleasure to be out with good anglers.
Yeah.
And a lot of them I had a bit of a relationship with anyway, so we got on well. Highlights of, what did we do that was anything particularly epic? I mean, for me, it'd probably go back to, particular fish I caught whilst out filming. And obviously, I suppose the Spitfire one pops up quite highly. But we went on some European adventures as well. We went to Holland once with Ed Skills.
Yeah, Ed Skills.
Ed's a lovely bloke, and he had this pimped up carp boat that took us out onto these waterways, and that was a nice little experience.
Had you done much apart from France? Had you been to Holland or anywhere else?
No, just France really. Yeah.
So that was a bit new territory stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of Europe I'd like to see, and hopefully we'll have a budget to do a bit more European stuff soon.
What for you in terms of your captures, which you said before, we were going to talk about Spitfire in a bit more depth, but in terms of other captures throughout that, how did you feel with regards to filming and having that pressure on you to sort of catch something and pin a piece together? Was it difficult? Did you find that stressful? Or
no, nowadays I find it more stressful than I did then.
Right, okay.
I think then it was more on other people.
Okay.
The pressure was on them more than anything. With the diary stuff, that was kind of more like because I was one of the first people to do that kind of thing, so it was more like a bonus type feature. It wasn't. I wasn't under any pressure.
Yeah,
no, it's just like, this is me. If I go there, I'm going to do a bit of filming. If I go here, I'm going to do a bit of filming, and it was always quite light-hearted and not too intense or serious and technical, and people seem to like that and appreciate that. So.
It's mad how that's all conspired, I think, mate. I said to you before, I think you're one of the most natural presenters, because I've watched a lot of carp content, and I think you have a very, very good way of tying, obviously Carp Angle, but Carp TV as well, everything together. It is so watchable, mate. And loads of people have said the same thing to me when they've watched sort of the recent Carp Angles, but also historic Carp TVs, mate. And to think you came from sort of just being winged into a shoot where you caught a few and you were in front of camera. Yeah. So that is pretty natural within you, that, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm really bad at taking compliments. But it's something I need to learn to do. But if I didn't take on compliments, if I didn't take on board compliments, I didn't listen to them, then I wouldn't be sat here, because personally, I haven't got that kind of ego thing where I'm like, I'm really good at this. Because in my mind, I'm not. Do you know what I mean? It's like with the DJing, people, I think I'm just very self-critical.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's kind of good to have that because it keeps you know, on the right side of
But it always keeps you
confidence
improving.
and cockiness is a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah.
And some people dance over that line a bit too much. And yeah, I'd rather, not doubt myself, but, you know, keep a kind of sensible level on things rather than think, oh yeah, I'm really good at this. Because I mean, even now, like, I mean, I'm sitting here nervous, like sitting in front of a camera, but this is something I do all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but what point being that if people didn't tell me such things, I wouldn't be doing it. For example, you know, I caught a big one last year and then ended up doing a piece on typography.
Yeah.
And it was, although I'd had this idea of doing something like this in the back of my head, it was all the comments and support that I got from that piece, from the public, that made me do this. You know, it's like, oh, we really missed you on screen, Joe. Oh, it'd be great if you started doing something again. And so, yeah, that fueled the desire to get off my arse and do it, really.
What was that like, going back onto, obviously it's typography now, Elliot, Rich, everybody that's involved in an incredible job, but the whole journey whereby you left Carp TV, it became what it became, and then going back on, what was that like?
Yeah, I suppose like in some ways it's probably good to kind of clear the air so that people actually do realise that I haven't just, you know, been really out of order and sold a company and started the same one. So basically, after 9 years or so of doing Carp TV, Nick said to me that someone's offered to buy it, but you've been such a big part of it, you know, you get first refusal. You know.
Right.
So I thought to myself, well, after all this time, I don't know, I need someone else to do this with. You know, I need someone to bounce off, to, you know, have that passion with. So I thought it would be good for such a thing if I was to do it. So I rang Elliot and I said, Elliot, someone's offered to buy Carp TV. How would you fancy doing it with me? You know, we could buy it together and, you know, team up and blah, 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 blah. I had all these ideas and that. And he was like, oh, I'm really sorry, Joe, but that was actually me. You know, it's me that's offered to buy it. And I haven't really got a job for you because I'm going to be doing your job. And I need to earn X amount of money per month to pay my bills and mortgage and everything else. So,
of course.
Yeah, you're not involved in my plans, basically. And like I say, I could have bought it myself, but in my mind, I was a bit like, well, why am I going to spend X amount on the company doing that when I could start my own and get it rocking just as, you know, myself? Because I'd played such a big part in Carp TV. I was like, well, that Carp TV was kind of, I was the face of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So basically, I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'll just do my own thing. But at the same time, I knew I'd lost the drive after 9 years of producing content. I mean, it got to the point where we'd both got it down to the minimum workload just to pay a wage. I worked 4 to 5 days a month for 8 months, and then I'd go travelling for 4 months. It's a lovely situation.
That's an absolute joy.
And all that, because I was starting to get to that point of like, right, I need to do something different. But at the same time, I was in such a cushy situation. Like, how are you going to drag yourself away from that?
Yeah, hard.
So I don't, like, you know, in some ways, I'm very much a kind of like, I look at things of like I'm always talking about the universe. And so I was like, I think I even said it to Elliot. I was like, look, it's fine, mate. I was bored. I was getting to that point of it, you know, like, the universe done the work for me. I was never going to leave that position, so I kind of got pushed out of it, if you like.
Yeah, you're comfortable.
And so, yeah, I needed a break from the scene. And I was actually getting to the point where I was not against it, but it's just starting to feel like this is actually a little bit cruel. You know, I'm not sure about the ethics of this anymore.
I've heard this, right? Some story about you having some results in St Ives and then sort of having a bit of an introspective look at fishing and how it sits with yourself.
Yeah.
Is this right?
Again, that was just kind of at the time with what was going on in my head. I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
Didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. Didn't really have a lot of money. And I went over St Ives and started to get a little buzz back for fishing again. But then I was like, what are you doing? Like, you're just trying to catch a bloody fish. Do you know what I mean? You need to sort your life out. Where are you going with this? And yeah, I kind of just I was on fish and I just had a bit of burnout or blowout, whatever you want to call it. I was like, no, fucking going home, like, and yeah, I think it's probably Alan that mentioned that because I think it sticks to him. But yeah, it's just like, well, why? What's the point in this? I'm just trying to catch another, like, stick a hook in a fish, you know, like.
That's what I mean.
And it kind of did get to a bit like, and it is in some ways, it is a bit of a cruel sport, you know, if you really take a closer look at it. And like these fish, you know, we're hounding them all day long, right, on these smaller lakes or these holiday lakes and all that. They don't get a chance to chill out, relax today. It's like they're being hunted at all times, and must be quite a stressful experience for them. But yeah, then having such a long break from the scene, and then basically it was kind of, I didn't go away travelling that year because I didn't have any money. I was totally skint on my ass, and that was the first year for like 5 or 6 years that I'd been in England. And I ended up spending far too much time indoors and got myself a little bit depressed, if you like, you know, with my life situation, because I didn't have.
How old are you at this point?
This is only like a couple of years ago. Yeah.
How old's that?
Well, I was 38 a couple of days ago. So
You're 38.
yeah, so it's like a midlife crisis of some kind.
You're not there yet, mate.
Sorry, where were we?
Yeah, so we were talking about you going back onto Sipography, but also we were talking more in depth about this like layoff, because that's quite a lot of build-up that you've had, quite a lot of intense build-up within fishing with Carp TV. 9 years of producing content. It's pretty hardcore. Back that up with the fact that you've worked at Dream Lake since you were 17, the working in the industry with Korda phase. That is a lot of work, and ample enough to cause some burnout.
Definitely.
Which is what's happened. What I was interested in is where that thought process around cruelty and sort of leaving it and that whole came in, because you are a very sort of spiritual sort of being, mate. You can see that, and a lot of that's come from your travel, which we'll talk about, and things like that. But I'm interested in that thought process as an angler who's spent majority of their life at this point working within the industry, sort of everything guided towards the pursuit of carp, to then turn around and sort of question the sentiment behind that in your own head. That's got to be quite a difficult point for a person. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine.
I think what I came to the conclusion is that I'm much happier fishing sort of lakes that are hard and the fish don't come out that much.
Okay.
You know, like if you catch a carp and put it back and you think, well, it's probably not going to get caught for another year, then it's a lot better than, you know, like some of these muddy puddles that have just got far too many fish in there. They're really, it's cruelty to animals, really, isn't it? To stuff so many fish into a lake and have such a unnatural situation, unhealthy situation. And when they're getting their mouths all ripped up, it just feels a bit savage, doesn't it? But anyway, so what the point I was getting at was, after having so much time off in the winter and not being outdoors, because I'm an outdoor person, you know, and when I'm on my travels, I'm always outdoors. I'm sitting on the beach watching the stars and having a lovely time. So I'd had a long period of not being outdoors, and I'd got myself into a bit of a like, not that bad, do you know what I mean? But just wasn't in my same way, like positive mentality. And so I knew I needed to go out fishing. I just needed some outdoor time, and I was just waiting for that weather to get a bit better. And I didn't have any tickets, I didn't have any money. This is last year. I was absolutely brassic, really. So I picked up an old Carpology magazine and saw some pictures of Adam Penning. And I'm good mates with Adam. We keep in touch. And I was like, oh yeah, he was fishing that lake. Oh shit, it's poaching lake, isn't it? Don't need a ticket for that.
Yeah, too easy.
So yeah, I ended up going over there, and long and short of it is I caught a 50-pounder on my first night on the lake.
Was it your first night?
Yeah, first night. And the buzz was so intense, I was shaking for hours, you know, and that adrenaline feeling of something that I hadn't had for a long period then made me realise, wow, you know, and just being outdoors as well. So all these things that I'd taken for granted because I've done them all my life, didn't realise the benefits these things are actually having on me until I stopped doing them. So yeah, getting that huge adrenaline buzz and just being outdoors again, I felt so much happier. And I was like, this is healthy. This is important, and I want to push this. You know, I want more people to experience this, because you imagine how many people, like, I mean, all right, you might get it in, I don't know, maybe gamers do get it, like adrenaline or whatever, but that power of that adrenaline, that feeling, there's not many other things in life I get it. I mean, when I'm DJing and I've got a big old crowd, I have got that kind of sense of,
got it?
Yeah, it's quite a powerful feeling. But aside from that, there's not many other things in life that, you know, you get that from. So I think it's good for people to experience that and appreciate that. And so, yeah, that was kind of, again, what inspired me to,
I think it's so
doing this other show.
You're an angler, aren't you? You're an angler, and I think only other anglers can empathise with that feeling. You just feel so alive, don't you? There's no.
I mean, even now, like at the moment, I'm obsessive about it, like, unhealthily probably. Like I was going to come here straight from the lake this morning, but I managed to drag myself away yesterday. But I was thinking about it more and more the last few days, and on long reach, I get one bleep and like it's like someone's just giving me a shot of adrenaline. You know? And so the more of that you're doing, and then the longer you're going without a bite, and then getting that bite, it's that much, you know, more powerful a feeling. It becomes more and more addictive, and it's almost a bit dangerous, especially, you know, if you haven't got much else going on in your life. It becomes, the level of obsession just becomes ridiculously extreme, unhealthily extreme. Like I said to you, I had to like go, right, no, just get yourself away from that lake, you know, because I was going to come here from there and then go straight back there from here.
Well, yeah.
But, you know, you've seen the state of my car.
I think your car's an absolute belter, mate. It's a proper wagon of carp.
But yeah, I think you've got to keep a bit of a level head in some ways and try and keep the balance of things, because if like last year I was doing it, I only had fishing last year. I didn't have anything else going on in my life whatsoever. And if I got home, within a day of being at home looking at my phone, I was like, right, I've got to go fishing again. This is just driving me mad. You know, I needed something to focus on.
Do you think that's your personality as well, though, mate?
I think maybe, yeah. I think it's something that I'm starting to realise a bit more. I've always got a brain into something.
You're on, aren't you? You have to be on in something up there.
Yeah. I just can't, at home, I just get bored of looking at a screen. It drives me bloody nuts.
Yeah.
You know, but it's so, like, we all do it, don't we? It's just,
it's so easy.
It's turning us all into zombies, these
passive,
iPhones.
isn't it? You don't think.
When I'm at the lake, I have to turn it off like regularly, because I'm just looking at it and I realise, and I'm like, all right, I'll put it on airplane mode, you know, and then put it there, and then you just, without even realising it, you're picking up. So I just turn it off and put it away. And unless you actually do that, you don't realise how addicted you are to it. But, you know, like that, watching a lake is everything, isn't it? You know, and if you're looking at your phone, you could be missing that vital sign that's going to catch you that fish.
You talked a little bit there about that 50-pounder going back on typography from the poaching pit. Those of you that have watched the Adam Penning podcast that I filmed, I think Adam referred to it as Leapham, so the same place. Talk me through that. So the first thing is being back on typography in front of the camera, fishing. What was that like?
When I caught that big one, I didn't know it was cool, because I was like, you know, drifted out of the scene a bit, and I didn't have like my fishing network of friends, you know. Obviously, I messaged Adam first to start with, or I think I rang him, but he didn't answer. And then Elliot, because obviously I'd kept in contact with Elliot, I rang Elliot and I was like, or maybe I messaged him, I was like, mate, I think I've got a 50-pounder in the net.
As you do.
And he was like, oh, you're on. Yeah. I was like, hey, how do you know? Anyway, I'd put a sunrise picture up or something, and he'd clocked it. So I said, yeah, I don't know, do you know anyone around here who can like do me some shots or something? And it was Mother's Day. He was like, hey, I'll leave it with me, mate. I'll see what I can do. So anyway, he rang me back. He went, right, I'm coming up with Gemma.
Oh, bless him.
Poor old Gemma's Mother's Day ended up being like coming up to see a carp on the bank. So yeah, he came up, filmed the fish, took the pictures of it, and then I think I said to him, look, if you want to do a little piece to go with it, you know, we can just have a little chat about why I drifted out of the scene, why I've got back into it, and you know why I think it's good for us. And we did, and like I say, from that I had so much feedback, so many lovely messages. And that was like, well, this is the universe pointing me in this direction, you know. I think if you look out for the signs in life, you know, a lot of people are totally oblivious to such things, and they won't even, you know, like, they can't even believe anything like that, you know. But if you, once you start noticing things like little synchronicities, like it's like an event that's beyond coincidence. I mean, when something happens, it's so freaky, but you know, it's not a coincidence. Anyway, I had a mad one last week whilst we were on the subject of that. Sat there at about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I thought to myself, who would be good to get on the show? You know, I thought, Ben Hamilton would be good. Like, but I've tried Ben a few times over the years, like for Carp TV, and then I think I messaged him about this a while back, but didn't hear anything back. So I've not spoken to Ben for, I can't even remember, maybe 3 or 4 years, right? And in my head, I thought, it'd be good to get Ben on, wouldn't it? Yeah, but he doesn't want to do it, does he? And I thought to myself, maybe I could go through Tom, ask Tom to give, see if Tom will go tip him off. Anyway, half hour later, I get a smiley face from Ben. What is that all about? How mad is that? So anyway, yeah, I think if you notice little signs and you take them on board, you'll start to notice more of them. And it's almost like the universe, right, he's listening now, right, we can help him out a bit more, you know?
Where do you think that's come from in terms of you? Your parents overly like that?
No, because no one ever talked to me about anything kind of spiritual or anything. A lot of it just came, it was a bit of a mad one, to be honest with you. I don't really want to go into too much depth of it, but found out about this stuff that they use in the Amazon as a medicine for healing. And there was people who'd cured themselves of cancer with it, and not just physical illnesses, but psychological illnesses as well. Like people who've had major traumas from when they were young and they've never been able to get over them. And anyway, so I was fascinated by this. Like when you've lost someone close to you, you know, like you want to know as much as you can about all different alternative stuff so that you could potentially help other people stay alive, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Save other people's lives. Excuse me. So, yeah, I started researching this stuff, and this stuff is absolutely fascinating. And once you start reading people's experiences with it, it makes you think, well, hang on a minute, like, this isn't it. There's a lot more going on out there that, you know, than we realise. And then, so, yeah, started to kind of just research a bit more about that kind of world, if you like, you know. It's hard to kind of explain fully, but there's, in my mind, there's a magic out there that you can tap into with the right kind of mentality, and being aware of it, just being kind of trying to be a good person, really, but also like cleansing yourself. Like, we're all clogged up with all these bad experiences we've had over lives, and the things that we've held on to, like silly little things, you know, that you feel hard done by. But if anything's out of your control, there's no, you know, you just need to let it go. You can't do something about it, you know. And like, it's like these people who've got venomous hate for someone, you know, that's clogging up your potential of happiness and success, really.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% there.
Yeah, if you can cleanse yourself of all that crap and let that go, then you're a lighter person, you know, you feel lighter. And like I say, these things just sort of almost like fall in your path, you know. It's like the law of attraction, if you like, but I didn't really understand it or know about it. You know, I think a lot, when I look back, there's a few things in my life that have happened that have been perfect examples of the law of attraction, you know. But yeah, obviously since then kind of learned a bit more about it, and yeah, I find all that absolutely fascinating. And in some ways that was one of my drives for this. It was like, right, you've learnt this stuff, you're on your arse, you ain't got a penny, you're in a lot of debt. Let's see if you can make something a success from nothing. You know, let's try and harness this law of attraction and prove that it actually works. So,
and it works.
Well, I don't know. I'm still skint.
You're happy, mate. You're happy.
Yeah, no, that's it. And that's what I kind of come to the conclusion of before. It's like, you know, everyone's just constantly obsessed with money and earning more money. And then the more money you earn, the more you spend, you know. And I realised that, actually, I can have I had 3 years of not working, and you know, what I spent in that time, it wasn't a great deal. You know, you can get away with of a lot less. And one of the things I noticed from my travels is how much happier people are who haven't got that money, you know,
Too right,
and how caring now for each other. Everyone shares everything, you know?
100%, mate. Yeah, I think anything, and I said to you before, anybody who's been travelling, I've been fortunate enough to do the same, it broadens your horizons to you can operate on this level, if you like, thinking in a sort of a modern day society, never know any different. You go and expand your horizons a little bit and you see stuff like ayahuasca or whatever it may be, different cultures, different types of sort of communities, and you realise, well, actually, there's more to it than maybe what we've been doing before. But it does take that leap of sort of expansion to sort of see it all.
Definitely.
But I'm,
Once you've had a few of those experiences, like I say, and you start noticing them, and they become more prevalent. You know, I've had some crazy synchronicities. Like there's some people probably just think I'm lying. You know, like I'm not a liar. You know, it's just I haven't got it in me. But yeah, there's magic out there that can be tapped into for sure.
In a fishing sense, mate, for you?
Do you know what? Not lately. No. I think in a way you can, because that whole law of attraction thing. It basically, well, one thing I've always done is I've always kind of like got my target fish. I imagine myself catching that target fish. Yeah. I'm in the swim and I'm imagining that. Right, that's where I'm going to do my photos, and I think there is, you know, that manifesting. There is some power to that, but I'm not saying it works all the time or whatever.
No.
Like, but I have had some pretty, you know, lucky results, if you like, and I'd like to think it does, but lately, you know, I've been struggling a bit and not catching the ones I want. But it's early in the year.
But that's the universe as well. It's got to give and take, hasn't it, mate?
I'm probably talking that. It just feels like that, to be honest with you. Like, I've been doing a lot of fishing lately. I've pretty much been full time. Never fished so much in my life.
Living the dream.
I think
mate.
in the last month since we were allowed out, I've probably had about 7 nights off.
Go on, the boy. Sorry to be the cause of another one, mate, for this podcast.
No, it's good because you've broken me out of that flow now, and I'm like, right, we're going to have a few days off. Got your birthday celebrations this weekend. You need to look at sort of some other things in the carp angle, like ways of pushing it more, rather than just letting it do its own work.
We'll come on to Carp Angle, mate, because it is absolutely mega. I've watched all of them. I wanted to go back over a capture that you talked about earlier, which was a Spitfire common, mate.
Yeah.
What a fish.
Amazing carp. Yeah.
Don't come out very often at all from a pretty rock hard little venue, mate. Let's put it that way. Rich Wilby's place. Big love, Rich, if you're listening. Talk to me through your approach on there and how you managed to have it in your arms, mate, because it is it's an absolute being.
So we were going to do some filming with Rich, and it was like a day ticket series type thing. So I said, right, Rich will come up and do some filming. I think he might have invited me. I don't think I hinted for a go on there. I think he said, well, yeah, come up, we'll do this filming, and like you can have a little couple of nights on Spitfire. I was like, all right, sweet, yeah, I'm up for that. We're up for that. So done that, and at the end of the session, or actually, no, let's talk a bit about it first. Right, so first walk around the lake. Lovely little place, isn't it? Yeah, so it's small as well, isn't it? You like, don't realise
what
how
is
small
it?
it is until you get there.
Acre and a half, acre. What is
I
it?
reckon it is.
Not
like,
big, is
can't
it?
be more than about an acre. Anyway, so first lap of the lake, clocked eyes on this big common, and it is just obscene. You know, a big black thing. It's only like 8 foot away from me, and it's just the perfect view. It was like doing a twirl. You know, like see this. Yeah.
Check me out.
Yeah. Filled out a bit down the bottom, haven't I? Then done a couple more laps, and it like you notice basically by the third lap, you notice that the fish have already reacted to your presence. They're already sort of not so close to the bank, starting to sit in the weed a bit more. Then you put a few leads out, put a few baits in, and they're in the weed. So it's really clear to see how much the angling pressure, how much effect it has on them, Now, obviously, luckily I was on there on my own, so that helped. And I'd seen a few fish round this back bay, and I moved round there onto my last morning. I just had one just out in the edge. It was only about 4 foot off the bank on this little clay spot, single look bait. And Rich come round to chat to me. because he was there, I stood back away from the rods a bit and been chatting for about 10 minutes, and that rod's just gone. I think basically I only had my front rest, and I was it was all a bit like, I thought, well, I'm going to be sitting behind it anyway, it's going to be fine, I put it in front rest, but I didn't want the rod super high, so I kind of had the reel on its side of it, right. So it wasn't sitting flat. Anyway, the rod's absolutely ripped round, just exploding into life, and I'm sort of only like 10, 15 yards or whatever away. I've got hold of the rod, and by the time I picked up the rod, because of that angle it was sitting in and the angle it pulled round and the speed it took off, the line burned into the side of the buzzer. Oof. And then when I picked up the rod, that burn just broke.
Did it?
Yeah, just like that. Oh no. And Rich was like, "Oh, it's probably one of the smaller ones, mate." So I felt sick. I didn't care how big it was. I was sick.
Any fish out of there as a result, isn't it?
And I think the season was nearly up. I think there was one more. This was the first season he'd done it. He was the only one who'd caught it up to that point. The first season he'd opened it up for booking, should I say. And he said to me that there's one more on next week. Do you want to come and have a little winter campaign? That's how it happened in my head. Nowadays.
In reality.
If we asked Rich, it would probably be something like me asking him if I could have a winter campaign. But no, he was keen for someone to catch it because he was the only one who had caught it. So, he was up for it, yeah. So anyway, before I left, because there's so many snails in there, it was super, super rich, isn't it? They obviously don't really need to eat angler's bait that much, and it's all a bit alien to them. And most of the bites that had come out have been on just singles, just your lures, if you like, your bright singles. So anyway, I thought to myself, I've got to be able to get them on a bit of bait. Like by this point, I think it was like October. The naturals are starting to decline, and so I baited up. Before I left, I baited up about 10 spots around the lake, but just with like 10, 15 boilies on each one, so it wasn't a huge amount, but
just whole baits,
yeah, just so wherever they went, there'd be a few of these baits, so just hopefully just get used to picking them up. And then say there was some anglers on there the week after, then I went back the next week and repeated the process, same spots, then 15 minutes all the way around. Then I think I came back 3 days later. When I got back, there was this one particular bay over the back where I'd seen them spending a lot of time, and I had it in my head, that's their playground. That is where you need to be. In fact, I didn't even think you were allowed to fish that bay the first time I was there. I thought it must be out of bounds,
Yeah.
So it's full of pads and weed and everything else. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like, you're not going to land that in this area. Anyway, so that was my first port of call, and I got up the tree and had a look out there, and I could still see a few baits. Some of them had gone, but there was still a few baits.
Okay.
I thought, right, I'll just put another 10 out or something. It wasn't many, but I'll leave that area for tonight and I'll fish around that side and then fish this tomorrow. So next day, come round. I remember, that's right, I moved around into that area and I put out one rod in this big opening. It was quite silty on the bottom. It was about 5 foot deep, if I remember rightly. And I was up this tree. And I remember watching them, and then there was a bit of a ripple on the water. I couldn't quite see what was going on. Anyway, the ripple stopped, and the light has just improved for a second. And as it has, I've just seen that big and coming up away from my hook bait, and I'm like, looking down the line, thinking I've got to jump out the tree because it's going to be tightening up. But I looked down and the line wasn't moving at all, and it just kind of swam up and swam away from my hook bait. I thought, that's done me. He's clocked it. He's clocked it. So anyway, I thought, right, I'm going to do him, double whammy him. So I put another rod out there, just about 4 foot to the left of that one.
What sort of lead arrangement and rig have we got on it? Just a choddy, yeah?
Yeah.
Bright one on, or a match the hatch job?
That was on a cell pop up. But I think, because I thought, he's clocked that one. I need to stick another one out there. And literally, I was trying to, because you got to just keep everything to the bare minimum, like disturbance wise, like I remember even the leaves, obviously that time of year, just trying to be careful as I can. And I remember Aris from Korda rang me up. What's happening, mate? And I'm like, shh. I can't talk. And I thought, right, I'm just going to go to bed early, you know, because obviously when you're there and you're clunking around your kettle, you're doing bits and pieces, you're constantly making noise. So I just thought the earlier I can go to bed, the better. So I think I fell asleep at like about 8 o'clock or something like that, and woke up. It's like, what's going on here? Like, so it was, you know, when it's like that, it's not like the panic of
Yeah.
So it's like, what's going on? So I got out, got my trainers on, gone out, and the old bobbin's just going up there, like something on there. So I picked the rod up, and this is weird. Like, it just like felt like a dead tench or something. You know what I mean? It was
Really?
Like, yeah, hardly any weight to it. It was must have just been swimming towards me. And this fish has gone in the net. Now, whenever I hook a fish in the dark, I never use my head torch.
Yeah.
A, because I don't want to spook them. B, like, you know where they are anyway because you're attached to the bloody things. And C, that excitement. So what I do is I'll get a fish in the net, I'll secure the net, I'll go back to my bivvy, put the kettle on, roll a little smoke, and I'll have that 5 minutes of like not knowing where it is, hyping it all up. And yeah, that particular occasion, obviously, I expected it to be like a very small one, and flicked on the torch above it. Doof. Oh my God, it's a common, like, bloody hell, it's a big common. And I was like, you know, it could be the long common, and then it looks a bit closer, and then, and behold, just saw them little white bits on the old pecks and that. Holy shit. Got it.
I can't believe it came in like a wet sack of spurs.
Yeah, especially because, like, you know, in my head, I was seeing these snags, pads and weed beds and everything else. And I was like, wow, this is going to beat the shit out of you in this situation. And then I remember Rich, because I rung Rich and I was like, Rich, I've got it. And he was like, oh, did it fight? I was like, no. He went, no, it didn't with me either. I was like, why didn't you bloody tell me that?
I don't know.
You could have saved me a hell of a lot of stress and worry. Anyway, yeah, he said, look, sack it up and I'll come and do the pictures in the morning. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't normally sack a fish for that long.
Yeah.
It was his fish. He was more than happy for it. So, and mega pics. Like, Rich is Don on the camera, isn't he?
Mate, just that fish though.
Yeah. It's
incredible.
Just insane. Like, just perfectly immaculate. I don't think there was one little mark on it. Mouth was still mint. Yeah, incredible carp and quite a lucky capture, really.
Well, I don't know about lucky, mate.
Well, you know, that one, that's the only one I had out of there.
That's all you need, isn't it, mate? It's one bite. You don't exactly go out there and empty them all, do you? There's that many in there anyway. So you've done well to get. There's a lot of people been on there and not had any change out of their trips, mate.
But I was lucky. A, because I didn't have to pay that money. B, you know, the timing of it.
Yeah.
You know, time of year and the decline in the naturals, and being able to do that, you know, go up there a couple of times, apply a bit of bait to a few spots.
Big Love Rich, what a fish, mate. That's one for the album, certainly.
Yeah.
You and Big Commons, mate. Bit of a theme here. This is one of the most epic stories, mate. You told me this on the phone. I was like, nah. But, yeah. Tell the story, mate.
Oh, don't like reliving this.
No,
one.
you've got to, mate. I think it's better this way than if it actually ended in a result, I reckon.
Yeah, so when I was working at Korda, we'd done the underwater series. I think it was 3 and 4. Anyway, the blue pool one. And I was taken along as the bitch, if you like. Just cooking and going doing all the shot runs and that kind of thing, you know.
Dream Lake stood you in good stead, mate, hasn't it?
I remember at the time thinking, this is really not good for your ego. But yeah, so anyway, I was allowed to fish on Burfield because obviously that backs onto, or Bluefield backs onto that. Either way, both the same. And there was this epic swim. I remember looking, like, obviously I had a few different choices, but this one was like, holy shit, this is like the carpiest swim I've ever fished in my life. You know, it was just wicked view, island there, island here. Now 2 islands there with a little like gap between them. Looked like there was a bar out there. And yeah, I was like, yeah, this will do me. So I was allowed to fish at night and obviously running the errands in the day. I had a little walk round when I got there, just because obviously it's Burfield. You want to have a little explore, don't you?
Is that the first time you'd seen it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And And obviously I'd read a bit about it, and I knew about these little bays and bits where it tend to go in the springs. I wandered around that way just out of curiosity, really, and bumped into Nigel Sharp, who was fishing there at the time. And I don't know whether that was the first time I'd met him. I've probably seen him at shows or whatever. But you know, it's like when you know someone in the scene, even if you haven't met, you just like, you know, it's like your mates anyway, isn't it? Cool. Anyway, so I had a bit of a chat with him, but you know, he didn't mention anything about sort of seeing it or whatever. Like, he's obviously keeping his cards close to his chest. So yeah, after I think it was about fifth or sixth day. I should know these things. But in the morning, just as I was reeling in and going to see start work, I saw this dorsal, right, and it was about 90 yards out between those two islands, just behind that bar that you could see. And it looked massive. Like, and even so, for a dorsal to look massive at 90 odd yards, you think, oh, that's got to be a big old carp. You know, I thought, definitely going to put a bait out there tonight. So when I got back that evening, the old single pineapple got smashed out to that bar.
What, a choddy?
No, it was. I think I was using hybrid stiff, and so just like combi rig, basically. You know, little soft section, pop up was a pop up, yeah. And then in the morning, woke up to a bite, you know, and I woke up to this bite, and I shit myself, got out, grabbed the rod, and it's just, you know, like, fucking hell, this is a carp, we've got a carp on. And then it just, like, with that, like, like elation to deflation in 0.2 seconds, reeled it in, and the hook link had gone. Now, even to this day, I don't know whether a muscle had clamped onto it or... The other thing that could, because it was right where the hook was, I think maybe even like, I'd done the most ridiculous thing and whipped the knotless knot the wrong way, and it was sitting against a slightly sharp edge, which would surprise me. But anyway, for whatever reason, my name was not on that fish that morning. So Dan come up at that point. What are we doing, Joe? Like, we should have started, you know, we've started an hour ago or something. I was like, oh, sorry, mate, I've just lost one. Have you? He probably thought I was like,
yeah, having him on.
Yeah, just giving an excuse for being late. Yeah. And you could probably see by the nervous wreck I was in that I actually had. But anyway, he says, well, come on, we've got to crack on with work. And then that was it. I just lost a Burfield carp. I was in my head. I wasn't like, oh, that could have been the big one.
That's still significant though. For Burfield for a night, mate, to go and chuck a. Well,
that was the seventh night or whatever by that point.
Still.
Anyway, yeah, so that was it. That was the end of the story. And then a couple of years later, it might have been more than a couple of years. Anyway, Daryl texted me. He said, you never told me you lost the Burfield Common. I'm like, nah, I didn't, mate. No, I just lost a fish on Burfield. Who knows what it was. He was like, I know, mate. No, I think you need to read Nigel's book. So to this day, I still haven't read Nigel's book. But the gist of it is Nigel's seen that fish every morning. It was coming in there all chilled and relaxed. And, you know, he was working towards having it. Well, the day I lost one, that fish has come up there tearing about like an absolute lunatic. Apparently it was headbutting the bank. And obviously it would have had a size 8 wide gape in its bottom lip, you know. Yeah, imagine that if I would have landed. I mean, in hindsight now, I probably wouldn't even put a rig where I put a rig, because now I know the actual contours and the depths and everything. It was to land that where I hooked it, almost impossible, unless it bolted straight over the bar towards you.
Yeah, came towards you.
Which ain't going to happen. I think even if I had, you know, super strong gear and I just picked up that rod and walked backwards, I don't know whether that would have, I think, you know, you'd be asking to lose it in that spot anyway. But at the time, I didn't really appreciate how shallow it was out there. And
mate, what a mic drop that would have been. 7 nights, Burfield completed it. Cheers, boys.
Can you imagine it?
I can't, mate. That's just mad, isn't it? That's mad. Big Commons, mate. Wow.
Then Dan was like, oh yeah, I want to do a long range spotting feature, and then come and proceeded to spot like half a bucket of bait on that spot.
Did he? Fair play to Dan though. I like that. I'd do that if I was Dan.
It's like a blocker.
That looks pretty.
Can't
good.
have him catching.
You're not having this lad. No, fair play.
No, I'm sure it wasn't like that. But why we were doing a long range spotting feature in an underwater piece, I don't know.
Wow, what a turn of events that is, mate. Did you have any more that trip? Did you fish Burfield again?
No. I would love to go back.
You need to go back, mate.
Would love to. Yeah.
I can see after the current long reach campaign draws to a close, mate. Burfield's the one, isn't it?
I don't know, it sounds like there's about a 10-year waiting list, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe the waiting list is a bit long, but who knows?
What could have been?
What could have been, mate? Yeah, mad. Another chapter that I wanted to talk about, just because of the fish and the type of fishing, is Norfolk, mate. Your time on there? Explain to me how you got on and ultimately how you rounded off that chapter of your angling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so with Carp TV, we used to have like a catch report thing. So people would send in photos, and occasionally there'd be one that really catch your eye, and there was this fish, 40 pounder. I messaged him, well done, mate, cracking fish. Like, something like, wouldn't mind having that in my album one day or something. And I think he come back to me, he was like, oh, well, that's my lake, and if you want a ticket, there's a ticket going.
It's his lake.
Yeah.
What a result that is.
And it was only an hour or so from my house as well, so it was, consider I didn't know where in the country this fish was. It turns out it was an hour away.
And that was James's fish, right?
Yeah, James's fish, which had been put in at something, I think it might have been £4.12 or £6, something like that. But anyway, it had gone from a very small weight to £40 in, I think it was something like, it was 4 years or 6 years.
Yeah, freak.
It was a crazy growth rate. So yeah, I really, that's kind of how I like to choose my fish, really. If there's one I really want to catch, and I'll go and fish for it, But yeah, so I started on there in spring, and I think I was kind of like, I had my head in snake pit at the time, so I was kind of dipping between the two. But yeah, when I first started on there wasn't many. Oh no, that's right. Sorry, first session was in the summer. The first year I fished it, and I had like 5 or 6 fish on the first session. Different spots. What I loved about it was like I was the only one there. So after going and fishing busy lakes, and suddenly like, I was on this lake where I was the only one fishing. Not all the time, obviously, but more often in the week. There was only 20 odd members, and a lot of them were kind of family anglers anyway. So yeah, I had free reign of the lake, and suddenly it was like, oh yeah, this is what fishing's meant to be like. Me versus the fish,
Exactly.
And you could bait up spots and keep an eye on them and move on to fish, and yeah, it was really enjoyable. But yeah, so I had half a dozen that first trip, but then I think I was distracted elsewhere. Went back the next spring. It was a little bit of tricky to start with because they hadn't really woken up and they weren't giving themselves away, and that is all my fishing really is going on them telling me what to do. After all these years, you'd think I'd be good at guessing or working out what they want to do, but no. If there's no science, Joe struggles.
I think anyone does though, don't they, mate? Like people do have whims, but as you say, until you see some concrete signs, they don't really have a rule book, do they?
No, and I think after a few, sessions or a few nights or whatever, I saw one roll at like 5 a.m, and I put a zig out. It was really deep. It was like 16 foot deep or something like that. And I put a zig out at a foot below the surface and lost one on that. Then I saw what I reckon was James's fish come out off the side of this island. It came out like belly facing me, all these big scales, and like went back down. I was like, wow. So I moved up to the next swim, and it was a bit of a tricky cast to that island. Well, it wasn't that tricky, but if you wanted to get it mega tight, it was. There's a rule on the lake that if you got caught in the tree, you had to go and get your rig back.
I bet you've used that.
So it was a real tricky one, that tree.
Yeah, I bet.
Sorry, mate, I've got to clear my throat.
No, you're fine. Just loop this round I've looped it round the branch. What a shocker.
Yeah, so I think I got his dad clocked onto it. Carl's dad started calling me Captain Pugwash or something like that. But yeah, basically just cast into the tree and then go out there with a nice fresh rig.
What rig? What bait, mate? Do you remember?
I think it was hinge stiffies at the time.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bait. It was when the Almond Goo first come out.
God, yeah, I remember.
And I don't know, there was something special about that first one. The prototype, there was something. Yeah, I caught a lot of fish on that. But anyway, so yeah, I think I was using like a pop up, but then tipping it with like quarter of one of those. So it was like a food bait pop up,
Yeah.
but then quarter of a
With a bit of almond special.
like the little pinky. So it had the visual and also the scent as well.
Much bait, because that James's fish is pretty infamous for coming out off a single. Or
Is it? Right.
Yeah. But did
Right.
you had a bit of bait on that spot?
Yeah, I think I was. I was spreading it along that island margin. In fact, I think what I've done is I was walking around the opposite side of the island, and I was catapulting it over the island, so it was falling along there just because you couldn't get to it. Obviously, I could have gone out in a boat, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I was spreading it along the island from the opposite side of the island, if you like. But not a huge amount. No, I've never been one for putting ridiculous amounts of bait in. I just feel like you're just giving them. You know, you're just gonna have to wait longer for a bite.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Anyway, I caught a few off that spot, and then I think I ended up. I was probably spawning came, and so I had a bit of a break. Trying to remember actually. Basically, where I went on my travels and like kind of dismissed so much fishing for so long, it's almost like I had to clear out some space in the memory bank. It's like totally. You've only got so much space up here, and things that are insignificant, do you know what I mean? They're just you erase them.
It's so hard, mate. I remember doing one of these for me, and you just forget years, don't you? It is hard to try and order things, especially when someone's putting you on the spot.
Yeah, but there was. I'm trying to get it right, because I think basically what happened is I was still kind of after that common in Snake Pit, and just before spawning, they'd have a silly period on the top. They'd have a couple of days where it would just be like, you know, this lake's rock hard all year round, and suddenly they're like throwing themselves on the bank. So there was a window of opportunity there to be had, and I've been doing a bit up there waiting for this window. And what happened? Yeah, this one morning, like it was like game on time, so I fed them like half a bucket of floaters, and they lost one on a zig. I wasn't 100% happy with my floater setup or confident in it, because it's quite weedy and snaggy lake, you know. Yeah. I was like, it had that morning spell, it died off. I was like, right, I'm going to go to layer pits and catch a few and give them as much shit as I can on this setup.
To test it almost.
Yeah. Give it, yeah.
What was your controller setup at the time?
Oh,
do you remember?
What, as in like
were you in the inline bolt style floats at this point, and up clamp from that, or not?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
I do like them Fox bubble floats. Yeah, they are good, aren't they? Anyway, so gone to layer, caught a few, and then caught a few more, and got like, this is quite fun actually. You know what I mean? I caught too many, but the gear was fine. I was like giving them as much stick as I could, and it was standing up to the job. So I thought, right, it's good enough. Got back to Snake Pit, someone in that swim, and he was like, "What happened?" I think he said, "Oh yeah, I've had a couple taken." I was thinking, "Yeah, I bet you have. I've been feeding them all morning." And then there was someone in the swim next door to him, Sparks, an old mate. He was going in the morning, so I thought, right, I'll just do the night over there, on the other bank. I wasn't even worried about fishing. I knew where I needed to be. I knew what was going on. And then I'll move around there in the morning, because he was off first thing. So anyway, I'm cooking myself some pasta and all that. And I looked at my phone. I'd had about 10 missed calls. What's going on here? So I rang Sparks back. What's up? He went, he's had it. What? He's had it off the top on the float. £50 or 40. Or I can't remember actually. Was it? I think it was 50. But anyway, yeah, that was pretty sickening.
How's your look? How's
your
time?
But like I said, you know, I shouldn't have been there anyway. I shouldn't have even been trying to catch that fish. So then from there, I was like, right, I'm going to Northwick. They hadn't spawned on Northwick at that point, and I think Snake Pit they started that day. That's right. Sorry, old mate, he had it, and in the morning I went and had a little go anyway, and caught a 30, like a nice 30 that I hadn't had before, and another one, and then they started spawning. I mean, that was how close to the window that was. So anyway, then I went back down Northwick, and I remember like it was the weather was a lot better, and it just everything just started to feel right. And what I loved about Northwick is I was always fishing multiple spots
Yeah.
And baiting other spots as well. So you've got other ones to drop onto. And I think that session, I can't remember the full ins and outs of it, but it was going well. Like I'd had four or five fish, I think. And the way it was going, it just felt like you carry on like this,
you're building up.
the next one's going to be the one you're after, you know. So I think I left I'd run out of some supplies and that, so I left my gear there and shot home, went and got a load more bait, and came back. And I think it was the next morning. I was fishing on the point, but down to my left, a fish showed. I thought, oh, that looked like a big one. You know? And I had a rod about 10 foot away from where it was, which I'd had 2 bites from. It was in a good little spot. But something in me told me, right, now move it to where that fish just showed, you know? So I moved this rod 10 foot to the left. I think I might have put a handful of baits around it. Lo and behold, a few hours later, that rod's gone. Mental scrap. The bloody length of that thing is insane.
It looks like a scrap.
Yeah, you know when you've got that one on for sure. But yeah, incredible fish. The length of it is just unbelievable. But I did, so I didn't just catch that one quite quickly. I had caught a few, I think, I can't remember exactly, but I'd had about 15, maybe 20 fish out of there or something. I'd done pretty well for the time that I was on there. I remember writing in the book how many it was and then putting, give them more bait. They want more bait.
But that tipped off, cherry on the top, that fish, James is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I didn't go back after that one.
Mega fish, innit?
Yeah. I'd like to now because there's some other real crackers come through, but obviously maybe when that one's not about anymore.
Yeah.
But no, like I say, mega little lake, really enjoyable fishing, and it kind of really fired me back up for it all. You know, it's like, yeah, this is what fishing should be about.
Moving on to being fired back up, mate. Carp Angle. It's mega. I've watched all the episodes. There's another one coming this Sunday, mate, which I can't wait for. Might be last Sunday when you actually hear this podcast. For you, going back into producing, presenting, and that whole world of carp show, the landscape's changed a bit since Carp TV. Did you find it pretty easy? Did you find it quite risky? What were your thoughts when you thought, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it?
I had various different plans of how to do it for quite a long time, different ideas of how I was going to fund it and people to get involved, and there was so many different ideas. So toyed with it for a long time, really.
I bet.
But yeah, once it wasn't hard because I kind of obviously I'd done a lot of that before anyway. But I had this plan in my mind, and so far, the plan is coming together. Should we say it's been extremely well received. I've had a lot of love for it.
It's brilliant, mate.
But yeah, like you say, it has changed that world a bit. There is a lot more of that. When it was Carp TV, that was the only kind of regular, fishing show that was going out. And now there's a lot more competition out there. Obviously, ours isn't so much competition, or not at the moment at least, because it's on YouTube and it's available for everyone to watch. So it's nice to be. I've touched on earlier the fact that how powerful that feeling was when I caught that fish. The realization of what that effects that has on you, and just how it's good for you. I wanted to encourage others to either get back into it, because there's been a lot of people have drifted away from it for whatever reason. It's easy to talk yourself out of fishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of inspire people to remind them to get that buzz again, to get back out on the bank, and also make something that wasn't all just about sort of technical this, technical that, and just trying to promote products. And there's so much of that on YouTube, isn't there, that I wanted to kind of make something that painted carp fishing in a slightly different light, a little bit more just less serious, light-hearted, should we say.
At the end of the day, it is a hobby. Yeah. For you, going back into that, you talked there about funding. Obviously, it's available to watch free. You didn't go down the sort of subscribe X amount, whatever it may be, to sort of to launch it. How is that organised then through funding wise? How have you managed to fund that? Because it is, in terms of a piece, high level production, mate. Mike does a great job filming it. You do a great job presenting it. Great guests on there.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really good content.
I mean, I sacrificed quite a lot of time for it as well. Like last summer, you know, all the fish. I mean, I probably would have been fishing anyway, to be fair. But you know, it's quite hard to film. You said it earlier. How'd you do the film? How'd you filming yourself? But people love that, and yeah. So sorry. The actual question was
the funding element to it. So at the moment, obviously, it's free content. So how have you managed to fund?
Yeah. So basically, put together on an absolute shoestring. Me and Mike have been living on next to nothing for a while, but we are getting contributions. You know, that's how we've said to people, look, if you enjoy this and you'd like to see more of it, please consider contributing. You know, and if with them sort of figures, you'd only need a small percentage to contribute a few pounds a month, and we could easily keep it on YouTube. Yeah. Easily, we'd be more than happy. But the reality of it is, you don't even get 1% that contribute, you know. So yeah, we'll be looking at other ways, because obviously with the contributions at the moment, there's no way people could, you know, get by on that. So yeah, we'll be looking at other ways. We're kind of looking at maybe doing some reviews for companies, but in return for some prizes. And then, because that's what we have also done that. So basically anyone who contributes £5 or more goes into a draw. So far, we've drawn out 3 anglers who are coming out fishing with us on the social. We're going to film that, so they'll get to go on the show as well. Someone else won a St. Ives ticket. Korda was good enough to give us one of them. And yeah, I've been speaking to a few companies, and they're up for helping us out. So hopefully we can kind of G up a few more contributions like that, you know.
But the main incentive here, which is what is beautiful, is that it's not really about profitability, making money, a commercial. It's purely your love for it, your passion for it, and trying to spread that message, if you like.
That is, but at the end of the day, you know, you need money to live, and I've got to pay my debts off at some point. But yeah, ultimately, it was about doing something that I'd like to do, that I enjoy. And I think that is a massive key in life, you know, and something that, because last year I kind of lost my path a bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a place. And obviously, we haven't touched on that yet, but I started doing events, like music events, like mini festivals, parties and things like that. Well, that obviously went out of the window last year. So
while we're there, mate, Thump, talk to me about it. What is Thump, mate?
Thump, it's with an F, not a TH.
Yeah, FUMP, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounded like you said thump.
Sorry,
I can't see your mouth on it. I can't lip read from here because your big microphone's getting in the way.
I could just cover my mouth like this. What is it?
So Thump stands for underground music people. It's a little tribe of friends who I used to go out partying in London a lot, and there was one particular club called The End, and always used to go there probably 3 times a month, you know, like all night long. I love that scene. I love my music, and I love that kind of freedom and the energy that gets created in them kind of places, you know, like hedonistic kind of energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, once The End shut, I couldn't find anywhere to replace it. So I thought, well, I'm just going to start doing my own events. So I started off a night in a little club in Colchester, and yeah, it's kind of grown from there. It's I think this will be the 10th year actually that we've been going, and we've done some mini festivals, only like up to like 500 people, but we go to town with it. You know, it's never really been about making money. It's always nice if there's a bit at the end of it, but it's more about just providing an awesome experience. And I like making people happy. You know what I mean? That might sound sad. Like, I remember a few years ago, I was chatting to some girl on a beach in Indonesia, and I always used to say to people, "What's your passion?" You know, because I kind of always want to encourage people to move into that route of, you know, following their passion rather than just doing something for the money or whatever, you know, convenience. And she said to me, "What about you?" And no one had asked me that before, and without even thinking about it, on top of my head, I said, "I like making people happy." And I thought, hang on, where did that come from? And she was like, "Well, how'd you do that?" And I was like, "Well, put on parties and with music, because when I play the music that I play in Indonesia, it's like a really nice, chill, deep
You
vibes.
sent me a playlist for driving.
Yeah, one of my mixes, DJ sets, yeah. And you'll get people come and sit there, and the view is incredible. Like you've got a volcano on Bali in the distance, which creates a silhouette for the sunset. The sunset, the clouds, everything is just incredible, mind blowing, you know. And I'm DJing to that backdrop, but nice melodic stuff, and people love it. All kinds of. It's easy listening, and the people would come up to me, what's this music? What's it? I love this music, you know. And so anyway, yeah, I think I like making people happy. And again, like with this show, the amount of people who message, I really love this. I really love, you've given me the buzz back, and I've been back out, and that for me is, you know, far outweighs any kind of financial gain.
Alan said he went to one of these thump shows and it was absolutely mega. Like crazy little different world in a forest sort of stuff.
Yeah, we've got like this big Russian army truck, which kind of uses a centerpiece in the stage. And my mate's got a production company, so we've got like Function One sound system, like the best of the best. And I say we just like going to town with it all and just putting on crazy events to give people a little escape from.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's quite a stressful world these days, isn't it? Society and the system and everything, and everyone's just constantly worrying about getting their bills paid and everything else. So anything that gives you a little break from that stops you thinking about all of that and gives you a little taste of freedom in that way, it's therapy.
Yeah, of course it's therapy.
That's what I call it. And even that music, you know, I've got 5 DJ sets online that Joe Morgan Beats Therapy, you know, and if you can just put them on in the car or headphones or whatever and just tune into the music, you know, shut off that monkey mind and tune into the music, it really, you know, it makes you feel relaxed and it's nice. And yeah, therapy.
You said that before. You were talking about switching off and you were talking about letting things go and controlling only what you can control. And that is the hardest thing for people to do. I've talked to various people, various different things have happened to them, but that whole concept, if you like, of being able to shut off, if music helps you do it, as you say, it's absolutely brilliant. Those few moments of sort of reprieve and peace, it's pretty therapeutic, mate, isn't it?
Well, like in this, I think, you know, there's what I just touched on, do you know what I mean, with everyone so busy and everything, your mind is just, and if you never give that a chance to like shut up, it will drive you nuts, you know. But when you start doing a bit of meditating and you kind of harness control over that monkey mind, and it doesn't talk so much, you know. It's not as disturbing.
No, too right. No. Hopefully those events will be back on soon, mate. With the whole situation potentially, touch wood and all that easing, mate.
It seems like there's light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to playing a set again and having a good stomp around and just seeing everyone catching up with people.
What's it been like filming Carp Angle through it? Pretty all right? I mean, you've had that days only period, but the rest of it has been...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really had any, mate. I mean, it has been a little bit tricky in places. You know, we would be a bit further ahead of ourselves if it wasn't for that. But no, it's just, managed to get by.
Well, you're still doing them bi-weekly, aren't you? Every couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Which is a good effort, mate, that is.
Yeah. It's poor old Mike that, you know, he's the one who has all the pressure because he's the one who does all the editing. I think there's a chance that we might even go to just monthly.
Yeah?
At some point. Yeah, just because there's now, you know, there's other people. Obviously, Elliot's doing his weekly.
Yeah.
Daryl Peck's going to be doing his weekly.
Carp fixture, yeah.
And I'd rather keep Carp Angle as a little bit special.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's something, you know, 12 of them a year, something to look forward to each month, but you're not getting sick of it. You know, it's not like, oh, I've got another one of them to watch. I mean, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it's Carp Angle Day.
Yeah. Fair play.
But also, obviously, that will allow us to focus on creating a really good show each month, not just having to churn them out because we're feeling the pressure of the deadlines. But most importantly, I'm hoping that it might give me the opportunity to get away for a month or two in the winter.
The travel bug's still big.
Oh, mate, English winters are horrible. If I had if money was no object... Well, if money was no object, I'd just travel on an endless budget.
Where have you been? You've been Southeast Asia a lot, right?
Yeah, I found a little island in Indonesia called Gili Air near Bali, and for me, it was like a little slice of paradise, and I kept going back there, and I'd stay there. I was like, it was almost like I was living there. I mean, like three or 4 months at a time, and just integrating into the way of life there.
What's the way of life there?
Well, just so chilled, chilled. It was an island that was 60 years ago. It was colonised, and then 25 years ago, tourism started there. And so it's an island that's pretty much built on tourism. There's lots of foreign people that have gone there and gone, wow, I love this place, I'm going to move here. So there's all kinds of businesses like restaurants everywhere in the world. So basically, whatever food you fancy that night is there, of a really good high standard as well. But basically there's very little to do. So it's a life built on socialising, eating good food, doing a bit of exercise. Like I say, with me, I spend a lot of time trying to find new music as well. But just pure, simple, healthy, happy life.
Yeah.
That's quite addictive in some ways. Like once I'm there, I don't want to leave. Like,
do you not miss the carp?
a bit like the lake.
Do you not miss carp when you're there? No. You wouldn't smuggle.
You've got to remember, I've had a whole lifetime of fishing. So yeah, if I'm away for a couple of months, I'm not missing carp. Winters as well. Like I was just not a massive fan of winter, and I think when you've spoilt yourself with like 5 or 6 years of no winter, you don't want another one.
No.
But obviously, I will, and I will have to. But yeah, so basically, if I could get away for a month or 2 months in the winter, that would be
ideal.
Lovely.
Fingers crossed for you, mate. You earned it, definitely. Sounds idyllic. On Carp Angle, last chapter I'm going to talk to you about, long reach, mate. Second season on there, is it?
Yep.
First season, you've absolutely slayed it. It's not easy, and you've had some good results. Talk to me about your approaches, how you've got on in that first season, and how things are panning out at the moment. Because it's on Carp Angle. You've got a good Joe Blogs diary that I love, mate. I love the update.
Fishing in the moment.
Yeah.
So I actually joined the year before last, or no, I didn't join. I went over on a guest, and I caught one actually out of the meadow on my first session, small one. Then I went over to long reach, got a little taste for that, went back. This is what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Went back and then had a little meltdown in my brain and thought, what are you doing fishing? You've got to sort your life out, blah, 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 and left. So then I went back the next year, and I fished 3 nights a week for a month on the meadow. Caught 5, I think. Something like that. Up to...
What's the stock in the meadow?
I think he's put about 300 in there.
Is he?
But it's 150 acres. Yeah. It's 4 lakes attached to each other. So there's a lot of places they can be. The 50-acre chunk is... You can't use boats. So
you can't use boats?
No. So... And also you can only fish 3 banks of it. There's 14 swims on 50 acres. So there's a lot of water that you can't fish. So yeah, that makes it tricky. But I did get the buzz for it. I was enjoying it. Then last year, obviously, really got the fishing bug back. Right, hit St. Ives hard. And what I loved about it was the variety. I thought, well, I'm not just going to get totally obsessed with one lake. If I can't find anything to go on in one lake, I'll walk over another lake, and it was like a massive adventure. Especially, I went there from the guesty water because that was just getting so busy. And then, I was like, wow, this is proper adventure fishing, Like, there's so much, so many banks to walk, and so many, every corner you turn, it's like, wow, look, carping view, look at that, like this swim's got to be the nuts. And you soon learn to realise that, there's carping views everywhere, but the carp are not everywhere, So, I just enjoyed the whole being active, being mobile, baiting up little spots, walking around, checking out. Nothing's happened on this lake. I'm going over that one, and I just enjoyed the variety that it offered. But in terms of actual fishing, again, I like to I'm not one of these people. Like there's another guy who was going on one of the lakes, and he'd fished the same swim week in, week out. He'd put same spot, loads of bait, And I just can't do that. I just get bored. You know? I like to. That's why I called it fishing in the moment. You know, it's more about just what's going on in that time, acting accordingly, rather than baiting up that spot for next week. Like I say, I would bait up, but it'd be more like little bits of bait, little and often, short-term baiting, rather than just filling it in and going back and sitting on it. It was more about getting the fish, on the bait, giving them a taste for it. Like I said to you earlier with the Spitfire, if they're swimming around and picking up, there's another one of them. Oh, there's another one of them. And obviously when they do come across your bait, finally, hopefully it's just going to be the same. Oh, there's another one of them.
Yeah.
That kind of approach seemed to work quite well for me on long reach. I got off to the first session. First time I walked over there, I'd been fishing the meadow more, but I'd walked around that day all day and it was like dripping with sweat, sliced up from brambles. And it was like I was just dehydrated. I stood in this swim on the end of long reach. And there was an easterly blowing in, and this tree here was offering like a lovely bit of shelter from the afternoon sun. I thought, you know what, this is nice here. I could handle a bit of this, because I was thinking about going home. I thought, I could easily just camp here. And then a boat went past. As this boat went past, I just thought, what do these fish do when the boats go past? Do they go and hide in the corners? Is there somewhere that they're always like going to be? Anyway, within 10 seconds of thinking that, one jumped out in the wake of the boat. I was like, oh, cheers, universe. I got my answer. I love it. And I put out a little 2-foot zig and I caught one within half an hour or something. It's only a small one, a stocky, but that first carp out of any lake is so important, isn't it? It sets you up on a different level of confidence, and you can feed off of that. And it works. It definitely works. Anyway, so I think the next session on there, I'd been on the meadow in between, and on my way back to the car that session, I saw one show out by this ramp. Oh, that's noted. And the next session, the week after, I got back and sat there looking at that bit of water. And within 10 minutes, saw one show by that ramp. I was like, right, they obviously like that area. There's something there. So I walked round to that swim nearest to that spot. One come out 40 yards out. It's like, bloody hell. And another one out by the ramp. Well, I don't need to do a lap today, do I? So I went back, got my barra, put out singles, like I said to you earlier. I'd rather fish for a bite to start with, at least.
What sort of rigs? Choddies, or have you got some sort of drop?
Spinners or runnies or whatever you want to call them. Yeah. Once I started using that rig, which was literally at the beginning of last year, to be honest with you, like I say, it came about whilst I wasn't really, I think maybe it did come about before, but anyway, it hit its peak when I wasn't really into my fishing. So
yeah.
But that last year I ended up moving in with a mate and watching loads of YouTube, because they were fishermen and they watched it, and that was, in a way, that was kind of what made me realise how powerful a platform it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, obviously I'd seen the boys using the spinner rigs and all that, and when you look at the mechanics of it and how it acts, how it behaves, it's just like, well, it just makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I started using that. Anyway, put 3 rods out, just cast for the drop, and they all landed quite deep. I left it about 2 hours, and I knew that there was 2 shallow bars out in this area, like mega shallow bars. So I thought, right, I want a couple of rods on this bar, really. So I had a little flick around with a lead, located this bar, put 2 singles on the bar, but the right hand rod that I cast off the ramp, I'd got quite a good drop on.
Okay.
And I thought, no, well, I'll leave that one. It's good enough drop. It's in a bit of better depth. They obviously like it out there anyway. That's fine. I'll leave that. I'll put some bait out later on. Like, obviously got seagull issues, so I was going to wait till it got dark to put some bait out. And then I think it was probably about 6 o'clock, something like that. I'm not sure exactly on time, but had a bite. And the some of the banks on Long Reach are lethal. Like, you've got like a 6-7 foot drop, these kind of, not really steps, little slippery slopes down to the bank. So yeah, I've jumped down, picked up the rod, and it's just like bent straight over. I'm trying to like bend into it, but it's just straight rodding me, flat rodding me, and pulling me in the lake. Is
that the deeper rod or the bar?
This was the deeper rod, which is going over a bar. The bar's 70 yards range. It's got like 3 foot depth on it, covered in mussels.
No.
And I'm fishing over that in like 12 foot water, about 30 yards past it, you know. To be honest, right, if I knew the situation then, I probably wouldn't have even been fishing there.
Yeah.
If you knew the severity of it, you go, oh, you wouldn't. No, you can't do that.
Cut off sitter.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, this fish is just like pulling me in the lake. I can't like bend into it. And I'm a backwind person, so I'm like pulling up. And anyway, so the line's going at an angle. Like sorry, what I didn't mention is to the right of this, there's the buoys and the ramp. So you got 4 buoys around a ramp, you know, and I'm like fishing 15 yards to the left of this. And the line's caught around something. I could feel it grating, you know. It's like, oh, no. It was pulling so hard, I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to land this. How am I ever going to land this? This is ridiculous. So the line, I could feel it grating like for about 10 yards. It's going to break any second. And then suddenly it just popped off of whatever it was round, and the fish has then started kiting round to my right. So he's now clear, should I say, of the ramp and the buoys. Oh. But he's heading towards this little island, you know, and it's like, clamp down, oh, come on. And I could see this tail flopping over, and it's like, oh, it looks like it's got to be one of the big ones. And yeah, lo and behold, I finally got it in the net, and yeah, it was muttleys, which is one of the ones I really wanted to catch out of there. Mega carp. I mean, at the time it was really kind of dark, so it looked almost a bit like the Black Mirror, you know, like a baby Black Mirror in some ways. But so I've got that in sling, and I've messaged Dave Little because he was on the lake. I was like, oh, Dave, do you mind like popping around and do some pictures? I've got muttleys, and I don't know if he got back to me, but anyway, so I went down to the Sky in the next swim to ask him for a hand, because you couldn't even deal with them things on your own in those circumstances with the slope and that, you know. I wouldn't have been able to get that fish up that slope safely without someone else.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went and got this other guy. He's like, yeah, no worries, I'll come and give you hands. I'll come back. The other rods, one of the other rods was away, you know, like, so fish on there. I got that one in. That was like an upper double, fully scaled. But yeah, it was just, like I say, I turned up the fish show. It was going off out there. It was rocking, and yeah, I think that, again, that's the power of singles. If I would have messed around trying to find spots and putting loads of bait out and that, you know, they probably wouldn't have been there any longer.
Thrashed them out.
Yeah, I didn't even have a chance to put any bait out.
Ridiculous, mate.
But yeah, it kind of went on. I had a few good hits, basically, but twice I had 5 or 6 fish in a session. But then sometimes I was staying for 5 or 6 nights. You know?
Still though, mate, that's good going.
I mean, in total, it wouldn't. You know, some people probably think I lived down there all summer, but I didn't start until the end of May, and then I done like 45 nights on Long Reach to, you know, like the autumn for 22 fish. And then the meadow, I'd probably done sort of 15, 20 nights over there, and a few on shallow. So really, it wasn't like full time. No. I've done nearly half that amount that I've done on Long Reach already in the last month. Yeah. Like, I think I'm on 20 odd nights already. 23.
What are you up to in terms of captures?
This year? 4, but all small ones.
But your target is a friendly common, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that, do we? Yeah, so last week I rocked up at the lake, had a walk round, was getting a little bit despondent about how busy it was, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll just have a look over the meadow. I was like, no, you've got to focus. If you're going to catch your target fish, you can't be fishing the bloody another lake, can you? You're not going to catch it.
Probably not going to catch it in there, no.
No. So yeah, focus. Even if you've got to struggle, just keep focusing, you know. And I got round to this swim, and I've seen a couple up this margin where you kind of have to climb down into. A few small ones. Then I walked round to the swim that would fish that margin, and there was one sitting on the top. So I climbed up this tree, and lo and behold, it was the big one, Starburst, which is like £46. It had come out, another one of my targets, but it come out a couple of weeks ago. So I was sitting there watching that, and then this 31 fully came through, and I've got to get some rods out, haven't I? Yeah. And I thought, no, wait, because it's very rare that you get to see those long reach fish close up. So I thought, no, wait a minute, because I did have what I thought was the friendly feeding on the spot last year. Yeah, but a big one got in there. I say last year. This is now, obviously. We was jumping in. Last year, I had the friendly feeding on the spot with 2 others, and the 25 common got in there first.
Right.
But by the end of the year, because there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't think it's still in there. I think it's pretty dead." I'd kind of talk myself out of that. Maybe it wasn't that, because there was another common in there that was getting big. I thought maybe it was this. I was trying to doubt myself. So when I was at this tree and I saw Starburst, I was like, "No, hold your horses, because if you get to see it, at least then you know you're actually fishing for one. You're fishing for it. It's there. It's alive." And literally within 5 minutes of being at that tree, in came the friendly common. Sat right up next to Starburst, so I could see exactly how big it was in comparison to that. It was absolutely mint. Sat there for like 5-10 seconds, and it gave Starburst a nudge, and it was almost like it was just saying, "Yeah, it's not safe here. Come on, Joe's about."
I can smell him.
Yeah. And so then, I got some rods out. I saw it again that afternoon. Next morning, I had a couple of liners. I thought, that's weird. So I got up the tree to see if I could see anything, and saw a common come through, a different one, 30 pounder come through, and it got to about 8 foot off my line, and it went, whoa, like just bolted. It saw my line absolutely bolted.
No way.
Obviously, if you weren't up the tree, you wouldn't have even seen that at all. So anyway, I always, like in the mornings, I normally with a fluorocarbon kind of slacken off and give him a good wobble in it to get that all the particles off the line. So I've done that and then slackened them off a bit more to keep them down, and got back up the tree and saw that friendly again. I messaged my mate and said, "I've just seen it again, like it's in the area, it's back." And then I looked at my phone and it was 11:11, and I'm a bit of a talking to you about signs and that earlier, like 11:11, I'm going to catch it. 1:11, I looked like just happened to pick up my phone and saw it as 1:11. I'm like, oh, this is on, like, oh yeah. Then the 4 magpies appeared in the bloody tree behind me. 4 for a boy. He's a boy. It's game on.
It's happening.
Yeah. 1 o'clock, got a bite, and Tony Mulder and another guy were with me at the time. And I kind of I had 4 rods out, and there was a bit of a panic. One of them's gone. It was just, I was expecting it to be the right hand rod. So I was like, when I looked at that one, I was going, where am I? Which one is it? Picked up the rod, and it kind of kited out to the right. And then as quickly as it kited to the right, it kited round to the left. And there was a big sort of overhanging marginal tree. So I just had to walk straight in the lake, like no time to flip the old trainers off or nothing like that. Just straight in. Managed to steer it away from the trouble on the left-hand side. Got out in front of this bush, and the hooks just popped out. And the point was bent over. It obviously hit the bone, hadn't gone in properly, but, oh, man, sickening. So I'm sure, well, I'm not sure what it was. I've got no idea. But, when you kind of talk yourself up into one and then that happens, you're like...
It's on a zig, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just like, 2.5 foot zig on like a 5 foot bar. So, but when I use zigs, those sort of zigs, I use them beefed up. So it's like 12-pound fluorocarbon, size 8, wide gate. It's a hefty old setup.
Yeah.
And I've had some good fish on that kind of setup. But yeah, it was just one of them unlucky ones, as it often is with that hook point on the bone.
You'll have it, mate. It's a matter of time.
Yeah.
You'll have it.
So then, a few days ago, I just had my birthday session and didn't catch one on my actual birthday, but last night I managed to catch this lovely, lovely mirror, which I was, sometimes you don't want to let them go.
Yeah,
They're so
I know.
cool. You're like, I want to take you home.
Stay here for a bit.
So yeah, I was really happy with that, and that's what I love about the buzz of it. Always like, even after all these years, you catch one that's like an upper double or a 20. I'm still massively hyped up for it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the buzz that I get from long reach, that adrenaline thing, it's unhealthy, I think.
But long may that continue, and that's how it should be, mate, I think.
Definitely.
The day you lose that, it's a sad day, mate. Keep that going, boy. I've thoroughly enjoyed our little whimsical dart around of this. This has been great.
A bit there, here,
no,
there,
I
and
like
everywhere.
that, mate. And your character, mate, I really, really like empathise and like that a lot, especially the spirituality side of stuff. That's cool. Before I let you go, you've got the Nash quickfire questions to answer, mate.
Okay, mate.
The emphasis is on quick.
Yeah.
You'll be all right, I think, mate.
Okay.
These, the universe is telling me you'll be quick here with these, mate.
Okay,
You'll be all right.
I used to do one of these myself, actually. So.
I have to read them, mate, 'cause I'm not quite at the memory stage yet, mate, but we'll get there one day. UK 50 or foreign 70?
UK 50.
Bait boat or baiting pole?
Baiting pole.
Would you rather experience carp fishing 20 years ago or 20 years in the future?
20 years ago.
Dawn or dusk?
Dawn.
Never use a shelter again, or never use a bed chair again?
The crack of dawn. Never use a shelter again.
You're going back to your naturalist days on on Dream Lakes. Be a professional angler or a professional footballer?
Well, they get a little more women, don't they? Yeah.
Well, anglers, yeah.
Yeah, probably be footballer, wouldn't it? Just because of the money and the women, I guess.
Right. Two massive
Sad as
motivations. Yeah. Always torrentially raining when you're fishing, always 30 degrees and sunny.
I hate rain. I'm a sun chaser.
Sun chaser. Would you rather have 10 20 pounders or 1 40 pounder in a session?
140.
For the rest of your life, you can only listen to drum and bass or country and western.
I'd rather be deaf.
Deaf?
No,
Wow,
I'm only
third
joking.
option.
Be careful what you're saying. You know? Wake up tomorrow deaf. Yeah, drum and bass out of those two, yeah.
Drum and bass, fair play.
I'm only joking. I don't mind a little bit of drum and bass. More mellow stuff, not the crazy stuff. Anyway, sorry, quick fire. Go.
That's good, that's all right. In a bucket or dig a hole?
Dig a hole.
Would you rather fish a 2-week session without changing your socks or a 2-week session without changing your underwear?
Oh, God, that's nasty, isn't it? Probably underwear, because socks get a lot cheesier than underwear, don't they? You know, as long as you keep your undercarriage clean with like decent wet wipes when you're fishing, then
good edge.
You shouldn't be getting too stenchy down there.
Good edge. Hook bait colour choice, bright or match the hatch?
I've had so many fish on yellows, so bright for me.
Yellow would be the one as well, would it?
Yeah.
Go on, boy. Camo or olive?
Neither.
Last question. Yeah, date night with the missus. You can put any missus that you want in there. Subject, favourite celebrity, or hit the lake on the end of a big southwesterly and a pressure drop.
Yeah, I'd go for the birds. Honestly, I've had enough.
Enough pressure drops and big southwesterlies.
Yeah, they're overrated. They're like, to be honest with you, nowadays the fish have cocked onto that. Yeah. The fish tend to come out on the real shit conditions and the shit moons because the lakes are so busy on good moons.
No one here.
Yeah, good weather.
Joe, you've been an absolute legend, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys all for watching. Please leave us a review and feel free to subscribe. Definitely check out Carp Angle. Thank you so much for your time, mate.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Cheers for having me.